Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalam ala Imam al-Anbiya wal Mursaleen Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma arna al-haqqa haqqan wa razqna ittiba'ah wa arna al-batila batilan wa razqna ijtinabah. Today we'll be continuing this sincerity series. We took a break and we are back to the sincerity series. How to be sincere to the, we hear you typing. How to be sincere to the leaders of the Muslims. Leadership is very important, and this ummah is in dire need of leadership. So the importance of today's topic cannot be overemphasized. Today's topic, how to be sincere to the leaders of the Muslims. The leaders of the Muslims are seven types. There are 7 types of leaders. The first is the husband in the house. The husband in the house is the Amir, because of the ayah found in Surah Nisa, Ar-Rijal Qawwamuna ala Nisa. Men are the maintainers and protectors of women. So because of Nisa 32, Nisa 34. The ayah Nisa 34. Ar-Rijal Qawwamuna ala Nisa. The first leader is the husband in his household. And the Prophet said, no man should lead another man in his house, in Salah. When you are in somebody's house, he is the Amir of the house. You cannot lead him in Salah unless he asks you to lead. But if he didn't ask you to lead the Salah, you cannot lead a man in Salah in his house. So that is the first leader, the husband in the house. The second leader is the Amir of a Jama'ah. So if you have a Muslim group, a global Islamic movement, and you have a Sheikh who is the leader of that movement, he is a Muslim leader, the Amir of a Jama'ah. Or even if 3 people are traveling in a car from New York to Washington DC, from Sydney, Australia to Melbourne, from Mecca to Medina, 3 of you are in a car, you have to choose an Amir. If you have no Amir, the Shaitan becomes your Amir. So the Amir of a Jama'ah is the other leader. The other leader is the military leader. So when you are on the battlefield, the military leader, he is one of the leaders of the ummah. And Allah told you that when you are on the battlefield, you should not have disputes between yourselves. Surah 8 verse 46. Obey Allah, obey the messenger, and do not argue and bicker between yourselves when you are on the battlefield. Surah 8 verse 46. Because if you argue, your power will go away from you. Please send out invites so that everybody will know that the dars has started. The other leader is the Imam of the Masjid. The Imam of the Masjid is the other leader. And the person to lead the Salah is the man who has the most knowledge of Quran. So the Hafiz, you should put him in front. And if the people are equal, say 2-3 brothers are equal in Hifz, the one who has more knowledge of the Hadith. And if all of them have equal knowledge of Hadith, the one who is older in age. And if they are equal in age, the one who starts to practice first. The one who starts to practice Islam first. That's why you choose the Imam of the Masjid, the one who has more knowledge of Quran. If they are equal, then you go to the one who has more knowledge of the Hadith. If they are equal, you go to the one who is older, the one who has more knowledge of Hadith. If you are 3 in number, then one of you should be the Imam. Okay, shukran. And the one who has the most right to it is the one who most versed in Quran. This is related by Ahmed, Muslim, and An-Nisa'i. So that is the other leader that we have among the Muslims, the leader of the Masjid. Now the other leader is the governor of a country. So the governor of a country is the other leader, the other Muslim leader that we have. And the last, which is the 7th, is the Caliph himself. So the Caliph is the 7th leader that we have. It is haram for 3 days to pass without the Muslims having a caliph. We haven't had a caliph since 1924, but according to Sharia law, it is haram for you to live without a caliph for more than 3 days. The Prophet passed away on a Monday and they didn't bury his body until the Wednesday because they were deciding who to be the caliph. When the matter was decided, then they buried the Prophet. According to Sharia law, it is haram for you to be without a caliph for more than 3 days. It has been 80 years now, you have no caliph. That means you are living in sin, or we are living in sin. Why? Because it is haram for you to live without a caliph for more than 3 days. Now, the other leader is the Qadi in the courthouse. I think that's the 7th. The Qadi in the courthouse is the other leader. There is difference of opinion among the scholars as to whether or not a woman can be the Qadi, the judge in the courthouse. That is the 7th leader. Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal said a woman cannot be a Qadi, and the one who appointed her is being sinful, and her verdicts should not be taken seriously. That's the madhab of Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal. The Hanafis allow a woman to be a Qadi in the courthouse, but it's not the madhab of the Shafi, Imam Shafi, and Imam Malik, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal. And the Hanafis say we beg to differ. They allow a female Qadi because Aisha used to be the advisor for all the caliphs who lived in her lifetime. The compromising stance in regards to a female judge is that if you have two male judges and she is a third judge to discuss a case, that is permissible because she didn't act independently. She had two male judges as backup. She reminds them if they forget something, and they remind her if she forgets something. But for her to be a single judge, one judge in the courthouse, that is not permissible. However, she can act as a helping judge and auxiliary judge. She a female judge, and you have two male judges who listen to the case and they remind each other in case they forget a point. That is permissible. But for her to be a single judge acting on her own, that's not permissible because a woman is emotional. Okay, let's see what you have for me. The majority of scholars are of the view that it is not permissible for a woman to be appointed as judge. And if she is appointed, the one who appointed her is sinning. Yes, that's what I learned. And her appointment is invalid. And her judgment carry no weight. Yeah, you cannot take her judgment seriously. Her judgments should not be taken seriously, it carry no weight. No matter what rulings she passes. This is the view of the Malikis, the Shafis, and the Hanbalis, and of some Hanafis. So some Hanafis allow her to be judged and some don't. So only the Hanafi madhab allow a woman to be judged in a courthouse. This is Bidayatul Mujtahid and Al-Mughni. Al-Mughni is a masterpiece, a Hanbali fiqh book. And this fiqh book is a masterpiece in regards to fiqh. However, the mother of all books in regards to fiqh is Wahba Zuhaili Al-Fiqh Al-Islami wa Adillatuhu. That's the name of the book, Al-Fiqh Al-Islami wa Adillatuhu. That book is the mother of all books in regards to fiqh. And the author is called Wahba Zuhaili. This is the book used by Muhammad ibn Saud University when we were studying fiqh. That book is the mother of all books in regards to fiqh. Al-Fiqh Al-Islami wa Adillatuhu. The mother of all books in regards to Aqidah is Aqidah Tahawiyah. It's amazing how Imam Tahawi was a Hanafi, yet the Hanafis don't have the right Aqidah. And the masterpiece in regards to Aqidah is Aqidah Tahawiyah. That's the mother of all books in regards to Aqidah. And the author was Hanafi. I said Wahba Zuhaili. Wahba Zuhaili. He is the author of this book. And he is a graduate of Azhar. That book is the mother of all books in regards to fiqh. Now, concerning the issue of a woman leading Salah in the masjid, a woman leading other women in Salah. A woman leading other women in Salah, that is permissible. Abu Hanifa said it is makruh. Imam Shafi and Ahmad ibn Hanbal said it is halal, but she has to stand in the same row as the other females. Who said it is makruh? Abu Hanifa. Who said it is halal? Imam Shafi and Ahmad ibn Hanbal, but she stands in the same row and lead other women in salah. As for a woman calling the adhan, the Hanbali madhab said it is permissible if only women are on the premises. The correct opinion is that of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, that a woman can call the adhan. Ibn Qudama said it is sunnah when a woman to lead other women in prayer for her to stand in the middle of the row in all cases because they are awrah. Al-Mughni, volume 1, page 347. So she stands in the same row with the other women. This is also the view of Imam An-Nawawi. The sunnah is for women who is leading prayer. Why? Because Aisha led the women like that, and Salama. These are the two wives of the Prophet who led women in prayer, and that's how they led them in prayer. Salama and Aisha, who are leading other women in prayer to stand in the middle of the row because of the reports which state that Aisha radiallahu anha and Salama radiallahu anha led other women. They stood in the midst of them. Al-Majmu' Sharh Al-Muhaddab. Yeah, so this is the format in which a woman leads other women in prayer. She stands in the same row as them. However, if it's only two women, there is no harm if one stands slightly in front of the other, and the woman stands at the right shoulder of the imam. That is permissible. As for a woman calling the adhan, the Hanbali madhab allows it, because Ahmed said la bas bihi. La bas meaning it's not a problem, and this is the correct opinion, because a woman's voice is her aura when she beautifies it, so she can call the adhan when men are around. But if it's only women around, then she can call the adhan, and this is Hanbali madhab, and it's a correct opinion in regards to this issue. The Malikis do not allow women to lead other women in prayer. The Malikis said it's not allowed for a woman to lead other women in prayer. The Hanafis said it is makruh. The Shafis and the Hanbalis said it is halal, and the correct opinion is that of the Shafis and the Hanbalis, that it is permissible for a woman to lead other women in prayer. But you follow the format that I have just outlined to you, because that's how Aisha and Salama, that was the format they used to lead other women in prayer. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ul an ra'yati. All of you are shepherds, and you are responsible for your flock. What are the conditions to be sincere to your leader? And I told you who are the leaders we are talking about here today. We are talking about the husband in the household. We are talking about the Amir of a Jama'ah and the Caliph, the military leader that leads you on the battlefield, the Imam of a masjid, the governor of a country, and the Qadi, the judge in the courthouse. These are the 7 leaders that we are discussing. The Rasul said, all of you are shepherds and you are responsible for your flock. What are the conditions to be sincere to your leader? The first condition, you need to obey your leader. Because of Surah Nisa, verse 59, يَلَذِينَ آمَنُوا آتِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَآتِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. O you believe, obey Allah and obey His Messenger and those who are in authority from among you. So the first condition to be sincere to your leader is that you should be obedient to your leader. But the obedience to the leader is with a condition. The leader has to obey Allah, because there is no obedience to the shun when you are disobeying the Creator. لا طاعة للمخلوق في معصية الخالق. There is no obedience to the creation when you are disobeying the Creator. One day the Rasul sent a man to be the leader of a battalion, and he built a fire and told him to jump in the fire. The power got to his head. They disobeyed him. The Prophet said, when they came back to Medina, the Prophet said, had you jumped in the fire, you would have been in the hellfire. Had you jumped in the fire on Judgment Day, you yourself would have been in the fire. The Prophet sent an army unit for some campaign and appointed a man from the Ansar as his commander and ordered the soldiers to obey him during the campaign. He became angry with them and said, didn't the Prophet order you to obey me? They said yes. He said, I order you to collect the wood and make a fire, and then throw yourselves into the fire. So they collected wood and made a fire, but when they were about to throw themselves into it, they started looking at each other, and some of them said, "We followed the Prophet to escape from the fire. How should we enter it now? You're telling us to jump in the fire. We took Shahada, we embraced Islam, we followed Muhammad to escape the fire." So while they were in that state, the fire extinguished and their commander anger abated. The event was mentioned to the Prophet, and he said, if they had entered into the fire, they would never have come out of it. For obedience is required only in what is good. This hadith is found in Bukhari. So this is the hadith. The man built a fire and told the people to jump in the fire. I said, I am your Amir, you have to obey me. They look at each other and they said, we embrace Islam, we want to escape the fire. You will be forever in the fire. Because obedience is good. So obedience to the Amir is with a condition. It has to be halal. He passed a fatwa and said, the British are in charge of India, therefore you have to obey the British. You can't obey the British. Or you believe, obey Allah and obey His Messenger and those who are in authority from among you. He said the British are in authority, therefore, according to this verse, you have to obey the British, the colonial masters. We refute the same ayah. The Qadianis who are to obey the British. 59, Surah Nisa, verse 59. There's an issue, can a Muslim woman be the head of state? Is it permissible for a Muslim woman to be the head of state? We discussed a Muslim woman being a judge, and we told you that the Maliks, the Shafis, and the Hanbalis don't allow it. Some Hanafis gave you the compromising opinion. The compromising opinion is that if she is a judge and you have two other male judges to sit and listen to the case, because she has two males as backup, that is permissible. But a judge by herself, that's not permissible. They appointed a woman to be the head of state, the of Persia. And the Prophet said, don't they have any civilization in which a woman is the head of state? It took place why the Rasul said, La yufliq qawm. Any civilization in which a woman is the head of state, it will never prosper. Because he heard about the people of Persia, they appointed a woman to be leader over them. And the reason why they couldn't find of killing for the leadership, and all the men who were suitable candidates from the royal family got killed. The only surviving member of the royal family was a woman. The dynasty was dying out because the men kill each other over the leadership. So the Prophet said, don't they have any men to rule over them? And then he said, La yufliq qawm walla imra. Any civilization in which a woman. There are some claim that a woman can be a governor. A woman can be a governor, but she can't be the caliph. The other opinion, a woman can be a minister, the minister of finance, the minister of agriculture, the minister of foreign affairs, the minister of education, the minister of health. She can be a minister, but she cannot be the state. They appointed a lot of Muslims. They appointed Bhutto to be leader, and then to be the president of Bangladesh. The correct opinion in regards to these matters is that a woman can be a minister but not the head of state itself. I'm back if you can hear me. Okay, let's continue the dars. We were discussing the matter of a woman country, and I told you the Prophet, they appointed a woman to be the queen of Persia. The Prophet said, don't they have any men to rule over them? Then the Prophet said, any civilization in which a woman is the head of state will never. Well, of course, we know Qadisiyah. It was narrated that Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, said when the Messenger of Allah heard that the people of Persia had appointed the daughter of the Khazraj as their ruler, he said, no people will ever prosper who appoint a woman in charge of their affairs. Narrated by Al-Bukhari. Because of this hadith, the scholars say a woman cannot rule a country. And there are scholars who say that a woman can become a minister, but not the overall leader of the country. When there's a caliphate, what we have is governors. So there is no such thing as president of a country. We call them governors. The governor of Bahrain, the governor of Qatar, the governor of Pakistan, the governor of Indonesia, the governor of Nigeria. That's what we know, governors. And the caliph, all the governors answer to the caliph. That's how Islamic leadership operates. And the caliph appoints the governors. Because when Omar was a caliph, he was the one who appoints the governors. And if the people complain about a governor, he would sack the governor. He would fire the governor because he did not tolerate governors who were oppressive. When Uthman became the caliph, he didn't fire his governors. Even though nepotism is when you love your family and you put them in position of leadership, even though they aren't qualified. Said there is no stern warning greater than stating that they will never prosper, and the most important issue is to rule according to the rulings of Allah. May He be glorified and exalted. And therefore this warning applies more emphatically to end of quote. People who appoint a woman in charge of their affairs will not prosper, because this task was to explain everything that is permissible for his ummah, so that they may succeed and prosper, and everything that is not permissible for them, so that they may be safe from evil and loss. Rather, he intended to forbid his ummah from imitating those people, the Persians, by delegating any of their public affairs to a woman. And he used this incident to convey this message to the people who were keen to be prosperous, so that they would comply with his advice, with this advice. Therefore, a woman is not allowed to be the head of state in a Muslim country. So, none of the four rightly guided caliphs appointed a female governor for a country. Secularists of the Ummah today would like us to appoint as governor of the rightly guided caliphs, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali. Aisha radiallahu anha, in spite of her being the most knowledgeable of the Sahabas, was not appointed as governor of any Islamic state. The caliphs, the four rightly guided caliphs, they used to appoint males to be governor. In countries like Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and some other states in the East, it shows the pathetic state of the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't have any men left in these countries, so they have to resort to women from the head of state. Even though the Rasul said a woman is the head of state, it will never prosper. Outlining the conditions to be sincere to the leader, we said you need to obey your leader. Because of Surah Nisa, verse 59, where Allah said, Amanu ati'u Allah, ati'u Rasul wa ulil amr minkum. Authority from among you. Then I told you the story of a man from the Ansars who was the Amir battalion. He built a fire and told the people to power hungry. The people didn't obey him and in the fire. They said, we embrace Islam because we want. When they came back to Medina, the Prophet said, had you obeyed him and jumped in the fire, you will be forever in the fire. Because there is no obedience to the creation when you are disobeying the Creator. There is no disobedience. There is no obedience to the created thing when you are the creator of things. Therefore, obedience to Allah and His Rasul is unconditional obedience. And even when Abu Bakr Siddiq became the Caliph, he said, obey me only if I obey Allah and His Rasul. When Umar became the Caliph, he said, obey me only if I obey Allah and His Rasul. From the crowd, he took out Quran and Sunnah. I will sort you out with this sword of mine. So even though Omar was feared by the Sahabas, he was feared. Still, a man took out his sword and said, Omar, if you should stray from Quran and Sunnah, I shall sword the sword of mine. Now, while he could see a leader dismantling the Sharia, and he doesn't give a damn about the Sharia, as long as he has a wife to go to bed with at night and he has food in his belly, damn if there's Sharia or no Sharia. That is the mentality of the average Muslim today. But because the Sahaba is here and they love their deen, I personally will sort you out with this sword of mine. That's because the Sahabas had taqwa. Not like the hypocrites we have in our midst today who preach to dismantle the Sharia is a minor kufur, the Sharia, and think about yourself. A'udhu billah. That is the aqidah of the madkhalis, the Salih Salafis. Forget about Sharia, think about yourself. Those who are fighting for Sharia, they are Khawarij and they are terrorists. The Qadian in Surah 59 to say the British have conquered India, therefore you have to obey the British because Allah said, obey those who are in authority from among you. We use the same ayah to refute the Qadianis. The key word in the ayah is minkum, from among you. So the leader that you obey has to be minkum. That's the key word, minkum. So we refute them with the same ayah. Allah said, obey those leaders who are in authority from among you. And the person who translated the Quran, what did he put in brackets? Muslims. Obey those of you Muslims who are in authority. Why they put in bracket Muslims? Because the hypocrites will use the ayah to say, obey the colonial masters who occupy. Those who occupy Kashmir, obey them. Those who occupy Iraq, those who occupy Afghanistan, those who occupy Shishan, obey them. Because they are the ones who are in authority. The hypocrites, they put a spin on the ayah. Right in Shishan, in Chechnya, you have hypocrites who take the Russians. A mufti took side with the Russians. The Mujahideen, they built a big bomb and they killed the mufti. He is no longer a sheikh, he is now a milkshake. He got killed because he went from being a sheikh to a milkshake. So he got killed. The bomb was so big, his body was. So the hypocrites will put a spin on the ayah and said, obey the Russians in Shishan, obey the Hindus in Kashmir, obey the Jews who occupy Palestine. Therefore, the tafsir has to be given. What's the tafsir? Obey the Muslim leaders who are in authority from among you. Without their tafsir, the hypocrites will put a spin on the ayah. So, condition, you need to respect the leader. Because of the hadith, part of respect for Allah is to respect the old Muslim, to respect the scholar of Islam who is skillful in the Quran, and to respect a just ruler. When you respect these three, then you respect Allah. So the decision to be sincere to your leader is to respect your leader because of the hadith. Part of respect for Allah is to show respect to an old Muslim and to someone who knows the Quran, as long as he does not go in it, not turn away from it. Then you respect Allah. So this is the second condition to be sincere to the leader. The third condition is to love your leader. Because of the hadith, the best leader is the one in which he loves the people and the people love him. And the worst leader is the one people hate him. That is the worst leader. You can find the hadith. The best leader is the one in which he hates the people and the people hate him. Now take for example Harun al-Rashid. Omar ibn Abdulaziz from the Umayyad dynasty. Harun al-Rashid from the Abbasid dynasty. These are leaders. They love the people and the people love them. It has been narrated on the authority of Auf ibn Malik that the Messenger of Allah said, the best leader is the one where mutual love exists between him and the people. And the leader generates mutual hate. The fourth condition to be sincere to your leader, don't ask your leader excessive questions. Don't be awkward by asking your leader excessive questions. This is the fourth condition to be sincere to your leader. So said, مَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْهُ فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ فَإِنَّمَا أَهْلَكَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ كثرة مسائلهم واختلافهم على أنبيائهم. What I have forbidden you, avoid. What I commanded you, do it to the best of your ability. What destroys, and they disagreeing with their prophets. So the fourth condition to be sincere to your Muslim leaders, whether it is the military leader of the field, the imam of the masjid, the leader of the jama'ah, the leader of a jama'ah, whatever leader, even the caliph, do not ask excessive questions. By you asking excessive questions, you are being awkward and you are trying to make the job of the leader an impossible job. That's what you're trying to do with your excessive questions. You're trying to make his job an impossible job. The fifth condition, against your leader. You're not allowed to create mutiny. Mutiny means to turn the flock against the leader. That's called mutiny. Now, when Ibn Mas'ud made Hajj with Uthman, Uthman prayed the Salah in full at Mina. He asked Uthman why he did that, but he went along with Uthman and prayed the Salah in full at Mina. Somebody said to Ibn Mas'ud, why didn't you rebel against Uthman? Why did you pray the Salah in full? The Prophet didn't do it, nor Abu Bakr nor Umar. Ibn Mas'ud said, Al-Khilaf Shar. Disunity is evil. Disunity is evil. Al-Khilaf Shar. So the reason why Ibn Mas'ud went along with Uthman and prayed the Salah in full at Mina is because he didn't want to create mutiny against the leader. The fifth condition, don't create mutiny against the leader. That's the fifth condition. To be sincere to the leader, don't create mutiny. Mutiny means to hype up people against him, to turn the flock against him. That is mutiny. And then I gave you the hadith. Well, it's an athar found in Abu Dawud. The Prophet prayed 2 rak'ah and Abu Bakr did it and Omar. But when Uthman made his Hajj, he prayed the Salah in full. A man said to Ibn Mas'ud, why didn't you rebel against Uthman? Why did you pray the Salah in full? You should have rebelled against him. Ibn Mas'ud said what? Al-Khilaf Shar. Disunity is evil. Because he didn't want to create mutiny against the leader. He wanted unity, not disunity. He didn't want mutiny nor disunity. So that shows you the character of the Sahabas. They're the flames of fitna. Some people, they like to fan the flames of fitna because in their heart is the disease of hypocrisy. About mutiny, Allah said in Surah Tawbah verse 47, don't take the murjif with you to the battlefield. They are not frontline material. A murjif is a person. A murjif is a frontline with the intention to spread fitna, to fan the flames of fitna. That's a murjif. Allah warned you about them in Surah Tawbah verse 47. Now you might want to have a large army, so you take all the scums of the earth with you to the front line because you think there is safety in it. Why don't you pay attention to quality? You want to pay attention to quantity. Why don't you pay attention to quality? Didn't Allah warn you about the murjif? Those who fan the flames of fitna. Allah said, لَوْ خَرَجُوا فِيكُمْ مَا زَادُوكُمْ إِلَّا خَبَالًا. If you take them to the front line with you, it will only cause you khabala, disorder. وَلَأَوْدَعُوا خِلَالَكُمْ يَبْغُونَكُمْ الْفِتْنَةِ. And they will become busybodies, spreading fitna, fanning the flames of fitna, sowing the seeds of discord. They like to sow seeds. What seeds? They sow the seeds of discord. They are always sowing the seeds. A munafiq is always sowing the seeds. What seeds? The seeds of discord. That's their profession. That's their randa, to sow the seeds. يَبْغُونَكُمْ الْفِتْنَةِ وَفِيكُمْ سَمَّاعُونَ لَهُمْ. And some mujahideen, they are naive. They will listen to them. Not every mujahid is wise. Some of them are naive. They will listen to them. Those who spread fitna. So the fifth condition to be sincere to your leader is that you are not allowed to create mutiny against your leader. The sixth condition for you to be sincere to your leader, you should always give your leader sincere advice. Do you remember when the Prophet was marching to the battlefield, the Battle of Badr? He encamped at a spot. Habab ibn Mundhir, who was an expert on the battlefield, said, O Messenger of Allah, is that your opinion or is it a revelation from Allah? He said, it's not a revelation from Allah, it's my personal opinion. He said to the Prophet, the spot you chose is not strategic. We need to encamp at the wells of Badr to cut the water off from the kufur. And the Prophet accepted the opinion of Habab ibn Mundhir. Now he advised the Prophet twice in two different battles. And we covered the seal nectar in this room in details. And he advised the Prophet twice on the battlefield because he was a military expert. So to be sincere to your leader, you need to give your leader sincere advice. Because the hadith says, Ad-din nasiha. Religion is sincere advice. If you don't give your leader sincere advice, you are not being sincere to your leader. If you did not give your leader sincere advice, I'm afraid you are not sincere to your leader. And the leader also is supposed to choose sincere people to be advisors. You're not allowed to choose Munafiq as your advisor. Now, have you heard about Musta'sim? Musta'sim was an Abbasid Caliph, and do you know who he had as his advisor? A 12er, a Shia. Yes, Musta'sim. Yes, Musta'sim. He had a 12er for his advisor. How can you choose a Shia as? I'm afraid you went against the Quran, because Allah said, don't take protecting friends and consultants and advisors from people outside of your religion. Surah 3, 118. Don't take bitana from people outside of your religion. How can you be the head of state and have a Shiite as your advisor? That the historians understand. The historians who studied history, they can't understand what was Musta'sim thinking. When Allah said, don't take bitana min dunikum, from people outside your own religion. When the Tatars were getting ready to invade Baghdad, where the caliphate was, he advised the caliph. When the Tatars, that was the most fearsome army in the world, when they invade Baghdad, the women and children will be able to throw stones at them and they will run away. And then he told the caliph to scale back on the army. Don't double the army, cut back on the army. A Shiite was working as a spy for the Tatars as well. So not only was he an advisor to the caliph, he was a spy for the Tatars. He was a double agent. They entered into Baghdad and they put blanket over the caliph. They killed women and children, men, women and children, blood run in Baghdad, knee high to the horses. They turned the masajid into stables for their horses. The Islamic books on Aqidah, Fiqh, Tafsir, Hadith, Sirah, they dumped them in the Euphrates River until the river became black like the tar. The ink from the books made the river black. A lot of manuscripts, crucial Islamic knowledge was lost. Why? And then they put blankets over the caliph with his two sons and they trampled on top of him until he became squashed up like vegetable. He died under these circumstances. One of his sons they didn't kill because they didn't want to wipe out the royal family, and this family was from the family of the Prophet, Quraysh. They took one of his sons back to Mongolia, married him off to one of the local girls, and that was the last we heard of him. Why must Asim face such a humiliating death? Because he chose as his advisor, his consultant, people outside of his religion, a 12er, a Shiite. A Shiite who is a worse kafir than the Jews and the Christians. Even Shimon Peres begging Bashar al-Assad to stop killing to the Sunnis and said, defend yourself, the Shiites are killing you. When they capture weapons from the rebels in Syria, it has Hebrew writings, Israeli weapons. It has Hebrew writings. Even the Jews are sending weapons to the Sunnis and say, defend yourselves. The Shiites are going to kill you out. It's an ethnic cleansing. The worst kafir in the world is a Shia. They said the Quran is changed, is tampered with, and Aisha had an affair. They said Allah is a liar who makes mistakes. So if this is their Aqidah, how can you have that person as your bitana, your consultant, your advisor? No wonder you died such a humiliating death in Baghdad in the year 1258 AD at the hands of the Tatars. So this thing to be sincere to your leader is that you should advise your leader with sincerity. The way the Sahabas used to advise the Prophet with sincerity. Because the hadith says, ad-din nasiha. Religion is sincere advice. Also, the Muslims have 6 rights over each other. When he calls you, you go to him like he's getting married, he invites you, you go. When he gives salam, you reply to your salam. When he seeks your advice, you advise him sincerely from the bottom of your heart. Only a believer can give you sincere advice, not a munafiq. When he sneezes and he says, Alhamdulillah, you say, Yarhamakallah. When he's sick, you go to his house to visit him. And when he dies, you go to his janazah. These are the 6 rights you have over each other. The 7th condition to be sincere to your brothers, to your Muslim leader, don't put pressure on your leader to sell out and compromise. You know how many Islamic movements started off with sincerity and then they abandoned jihad and adopted democracy? Many. Because the followers, the flock, they put pressure on the leader to sell out, to compromise. Have you heard of Ikhwan Muslimin in Egypt, Pakistan? They started off as sincere leaders. Jamaat-e-Islami of Pakistan, Ikhwan Muslimin in Egypt. And what happened? The people put pressure on the leader to abandon jihad and adopt democracy as the way forward. So the 7th condition to be sincere to the leader, don't put pressure on the leader to sell out and to compromise. The struggle is difficult. So because the struggle is difficult, you say, I can't bother with the manhaj of the bullet. I'm going to use the manhaj of the bullet. I can't afford to die on a battlefield. I want to go home and play with my wife and kids. I can't afford to do the bullet. I'm going to use the bullet. I want to go home and pray. I want to pray with my kids and play with my wife and kids. I want to go home and play Scrabble and Monopoly with my kids, or Trivial Pursuit. I'm sorry, I cannot be bothered. We will abandon the bullet and take up the bullet. Movements started off as good movements. Jamaat-e-Islam in Pakistan or Ikhwan Muslimin of Egypt. What happened? Today they become Democrats. The Jamaat-e-Islam in Pakistan, they're Democrats. The Ikhwan Muslimin in Egypt, they're Democrats as well. Because the people put pressure on the leader to sell out and to compromise. And those who died in Egypt fighting for democracy to topple Hosni Mubarak to bring in democracy. If you die, you commit suicide to be in hellfire forever. Because you died fi sabili democracy. How can you die fi sabili democracy? You commit suicide to be in hellfire forever. Every revolution that took place in the Arab world is a fake revolution unless Sharia was implemented. Today the people of Egypt are still crying. You know why? You got rid of Hosni Mubarak. Did you bring Sharia in? You did not. So what you did, you jumped from the frying pan into the fire. All you did was to replace one Taghut with another Taghut. That's what you did. You replaced one Taghut with another Taghut. Why? When you got rid of the Taghut, you did not bring Sharia in. Your revolution was fake. Not until Sharia is the end result, the revolution is not an Islamic revolution. It's a fake revolution, and you only got rid of one Taghut for another Taghut. That's why the people in Egypt are still demonstrating, and they're still hungry, and they're still suffering. Still demonstrating, still hungry, and still suffering. What makes you think one Taghut is the other Taghut? Allah said, Tashabat qulubum. Their hearts are alike. Baqarah 118. Tashabat qulubum. Their hearts are alike. The eighth condition to be sincere to the leader: don't topple the leader until you see clear kufr. Don't topple the leader unless you see clear kufr. Now, many Talibul Ilm, they ask the question, the eighth condition: don't topple the leader unless you see clear kufr. Clear kufr is legalized riba banks. Ibn Taymiyyah said, bring me the fatwa, please. Whenever a person implements, don't topple the leader until you see clear kufr. Yes, that's the eighth condition. Bring me the fatwa of Ibn Taymiyyah. Whenever a person legalizes what is haram by consensus, makes haram what is halal by consensus, he is a kafir with the ijma of the fuqaha. So when you go to a country and you see the riba banks, the Saudi American bank, the Saudi British bank, the Saudi French bank, the Saudi Hollandi bank, they legalize what is haram by consensus. You need to know the fatwa, because to legalize what is haram by consensus, to make haram what is halal by consensus, then you become a kafir. It's important you know the hujjah, because one day you will find yourself debating with a madkhali. Okay, this is the fatwa. Volume 3, page 267. That's the fatwa I want. Listen to the fatwa. Whenever a person makes halal what is haram, or makes haram what is halal by consensus, or replaces the sharia that is agreed upon by consensus, then he is a kafir by the ijma, the agreement of the scholars of fiqh, the fuqaha. It's important you are acquainted with these fatwas, because one day you are going to be debating a madkhali. So when you go to the Muslim countries and you see riba banks, some of them allow casinos, some of them allow nightclubs. Did you know that? Nightclubs in Muslim countries, casinos in Muslim countries, and riba banks in Muslim countries. These banks coming from Europe and America, who went to Saudi Arabia to set up, they had to get the permission of the king. When the king gave them a royal permission, he legalizes what is haram by consensus. What did he legalize? He legalized riba. That means he becomes a kafir. Now, when we debated a madkhali, you know how he tried to get out of it when we tried to checkmate him with this fatwa? He said the leaders who legalized riba, they were under duress. That was Hadi from a room called Authentic Salafiyah. Only a low-life scum of the earth would go to that room to listen to what they have to say. He said the leaders were under ikrah, duress. Duress is when a person holds a gun at your head and says, drink alcohol, eat pork, or commit zina. That's duress. A person holds a gun at your head and said, eat pork, drink alcohol, or commit zina. The person said, the king who implemented riba, he was on the duress. He was very passionate about protecting his king. Very, very passionate. The madkhalis, they are having a laugh. The UK is in the hands of madkhalis and the goofy Sufis. All the sincere scholars are deported or in prison. All the sincere scholars in the UK are deported or in prison. So the madkhalis, the Salafis, and the goofy Sufis, they are having a laugh, and they are taking the Muslim youths to the hellfire with them like a lamb to the slaughter. The dawah in the UK is dead. I think it's the same scenario in the USA as well. They will never allow a masjid with the aqidah of the mujahideen. Every masjid has to be masjid dirar. If it's not masjid dirar, they're going to close you down and say you're preaching terrorism. Every masjid is masjid dirar. If not, they close it down and said you are al-Qaeda. The way they stormed the masjid, the Lal Masjid in Islamabad, and kill over 700 people. Masjid Dirar. Ibn Masud was asked by the people of Iraq. It's important you know this fatwa as well. You needed to debate the kuffar and the hypocrites and the deviants. What is rishwa? Taking bribes. He said this is sukht, unlawful earning. They said, no, we meant in ruling. He then said, ذاك الكفر. ذاك الكفر. That is the real kufr. That is the very kufr. So the people ask him about a qadi in the court who take bribe to pass dodgy fatwas. He chop off the hand of the wrong people and he chop off the heads of the wrong people because he takes bribe. He said, ذاك الكفر. So since these people say we take from the first 3 generations of Muslims, always remind them about the fatwa of Ibn Masud when he went to Iraq. And they ask him about a qadi in the courthouse who takes bribe to pass dodgy fatwas, erroneous fatwas, to chop off the hands of the wrong people and the heads of the wrong people. Say, ذاك الكفر. That's the real kufr. Because they like to say it's kufr duna kufr. That's what they like to preach, kufr duna kufr. I've told you a million times how to refute the argument of kufr duna kufr. Always remind them who was Ibn Abbas speaking to. The Khawarij. What was their aqidah? They made takfir and people would drink alcohol and commit zina. So he said, it's not the kufr you are thinking about, it's the kufr of a lesser degree. Ibn Abbas wasn't talking about Sharia. Why? Because Ali, the Caliph, did not dismantle the Sharia. The Sharia was not in question because Ali didn't dismantle the Sharia. Ali is considered one of the 4 rightly guided caliphs. Before you can understand a hadith, you need to know who was the Sahaba speaking to. What era was it? Why did he answer the person in that way? You cannot take the thing out of context and put a spin on it. You need to know the sharh for the hadith. Sharh means the explanation for the hadith. The other condition to be sincere to your leader is don't talk with the leader until you see clear kufr. We have seen the kufr of them implementing riba banks, making riba halal, legalizing riba. And don't come with it, your rubbish argument. They were on the duress, ikra. We're not going to accept that crap from you. You and your hypocrisy can go to hell. We never accept ikra, the argument of ikra. When I debated the Salafi and he brought the argument of ikra, the people in the room wanted to vomit because of his hypocrisy. The stench of his hypocrisy made everybody wanted to vomit. Your argument of ikra is weak. Ikra is when a person holds a gun at your head and said, drink alcohol or I blow your head off. Or when the soldiers of Bashar al-Assad said, say there is no God except Bashar al-Assad. On YouTube you'll see them saying that to people. And when you refuse, they bury you alive. They did that to a man in Syria. It's on YouTube. The admins can bring the link. If you don't say there is no God except Bashar al-Assad, they bury you alive. That is called ikra. But the Syrian refused to say there is no God except Bashar al-Assad. So they bury him alive. He was on the ikra. Still, he did not apply the rules of ikra. He rather to be buried alive than to say Bashar al-Assad is God. Many people ask the question, why didn't Ahmad ibn Hanbal make takfir on Ma'mun? Because he had dodgy aqidah. He was a Mu'tazila. The reason why Ahmad ibn Hanbal didn't make takfir on Ma'mun, the Mu'tazila, is because of 3 reasons. He practiced al-wala al-bara, he implemented the Sharia, and he did jihad. Because of these 3 reasons, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he weighed up the maslaha. Maslaha means the public interest. He weighed up the pros and cons of the takfir. He weighed up the maslaha. And he decided not to make takfir because of 3 reasons. He did al-wala wal-bara, he implemented the Sharia, and he did jihad. These are the 3 reasons Ahmad ibn Hanbal refused to make takfir on Ma'mun, the Abbasid Caliph, who had dodgy aqidah, who claimed the Quran was created. The 9th condition, do not take sides with the enemies of Islam against your leader, because of Ma'idah 51. That's the 9th condition. Do not take sides with the enemies of Islam against your leader. Because Allah Ta'ala said, يَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَتَّخِذْ الْيَهُودَ وَالنَّصَارَى أَوْلِيَاءَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءَ بَعْضٍ وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُم مِّنكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Or you believe, don't take the Jews and Christians for friends and allies and protectors. They are but friends of each other. And if any one of you should take them friends, you become one of them. You are not allowed to gang up with the enemies of Islam against your leaders. Likewise, Surah 60 verse 1 said, oh, you believe, don't take my enemies and your enemies a friend. Therefore, you need to practice al-wala wal-bara. So if your country is invaded by the Crusaders or the Zionists, you have to take sides with your leader to fight the invaders. Don't take sides with the invaders against your leader. Now, the munafiqeen in Afghanistan. When Afghanistan was invaded, they took sides with the invaders against Mullah Omar. And they translate for them, the invaders, claiming it's just a job. When the invaders invade a Muslim country, they depend on the hypocrites to help them to occupy the country. The hypocrites are very dangerous. Do you know why? Because they know the language and they know the terrain. They know the language and they know the terrain. So if you are in a Muslim country and it is invaded by the Zionists, the Crusaders, don't take sides with the invaders against your leader. Like what the Pashtuns, not the Pashtuns, the Uzbeks and the Tajiks. Some Uzbeks and some Tajiks. They take sides against their leader, Mullah Omar. And many people who gave their bay'ah to Mullah Omar, they went back on their bay'ah and took sides with invaders. Now, they are going to pull out of Afghanistan. The invaders cannot stay there forever. What's going to happen to the hypocrites who used to translate for them and to help them with the invasion? Why are you so short-sighted? What makes you think the invaders will be in Afghanistan forever? The French Prime Minister, Hollande, when he visited America, what did he say? We are going to pull out of Afghanistan by year. We can't go back on our promises to the people. They voted for us because we campaigned on the ticket that we're going to take the troops out of Afghanistan. And we can't break our promise to the French people. We have to come out of Afghanistan by the end of the year. So all the invaders are going to pull out one by one. So the hypocrites who took sides with invaders, what's going to happen to them? Why are you so short-sighted? What makes you think the invasion will take place forever? What makes you think the kuffar have stomach for a long war? The Mujahideen have the stomach for a 50-year war because they are fighting to be in the bodies of green birds. What makes you think a Christian, a Jew, an atheist, an agnostic have the stomach for a long war? Muslims don't lose wars, Muslims lose battles. A battle like for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. A war continues for 50 years, 100 years. Muslims don't lose wars, we lose battles, not wars. Because you have one generation to fight, and then another generation to fight, and another generation to fight. You have 50 generations to fight. One generation after the other, because we're going to teach our kids al-wala wal-bara, to love and hate for the sake of Allah. What makes you think the kuffar has the stomach for a 10-year war, a 20-year war? French president told the Americans, we are going to pull out of Afghanistan. I'm sure the Canadians are gone. They said bye-bye, goodbye. This war has no end in sight. I'm sure the Canadians are not there. Where are the Canadians? Are they still there? Are they still there? The French said we can't stay there because this war has no end in sight. Also, Afghanistan is the burial ground for every single superpower. Ground for every single superpower. How can you defeat a people? They love death, fi sabilillah, the way you love life, fi sabili shaitan. You love life, fi sabili shaitan. To drink alcohol, to commit zina, to take drugs, to go to casino, and to go to nightclubs. Your life is fi sabili shaitan. How can you defeat a people who love death, fi sabilillah, the way you love life, fi sabili shaitan? It's impossible. The French said, by the end of 2012, we're gone. We're going to do a runner. Because this war has no end in sight. When people are fighting for religion, it will never, never end. Moreover, the Rasul said, لا تزال طائفة من أمتي يقاتلون الحق حتى يقاتلوا الدجال. My ummah will forever fight jihad until they meet up with the army of the Dajjal and fight the Dajjal. Canada has 950 troops still in Afghanistan. Oh, you're shooking for your info. Because I knew the Canadian public was clamoring and said, take them home, take them home. It has been narrated on the authority. This hadith is found in the Mustadrak of al-Hakim. The hadith I was quoting, it has been narrated on the authority of Jabir. ibn Samurah, that the Holy Prophet said, the religion will continue to exist and the group of people from the Muslims will continue to fight for its protection until the hour is established. The hour is established. Hatta taqumu sa'a. Then I learned another hadith that says, until they fight the army of the Dajjal. And that hadith is found in the Mustadrak of Al-Hakim. They will forever fight until they fight the Dajjal. On the authority of Imran ibn Hussein, who said, the Messenger of Allah said, a group of people from my ummah will continue to fight for the sake of the truth until the last of them fights the Dajjal. Shukran. This hadith is found in the Mustadrak of Al-Hakim. You are not allowed to take sides with the enemies of Islam against your leader. And anytime the kuffar invade a Muslim country, they always use the euro or the US dollar or the pound sterling to bribe hypocrites to take sides with them against their Muslim leader. We have seen it in Iraq and Afghanistan. Some people can't resist the US dollars. It's a false deity that people worship. The hypocrites are dangerous because when the kuffar, the crusaders, and the Zionists invade a country, the hypocrites help them. Why? Because they know the language and they know the terrain. That's why they are so dangerous. That's why they are so dangerous. They know the language and they know the terrain. And the kuffar give them money to translate for them, to crush the resistance against the occupation. I will stop here for today and continue the topic tomorrow, how to be sincere to the leader. I'll take 5 questions. Bismillah. This is the first question in front of me. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. What is the correct opinion regarding to what the Tablighi Jama'ah claim to be by reciting hadith after every salah and holding up gathering in the masjid after every Fajr prayer called Mashura? Is this from the Sunnah and is there any hujjah for it? Reciting hadith after every salah, if you make it after every salah, it becomes a bid'ah because you give the impression that it is a part of the salah. Even to make a dua after every salah, it's bid'ah. When I was in South Africa, they made me the imam of a masjid in Cape Town for 2 weeks because I was visiting. And I used to give bayans in the masjids, in that masjid. Now, one morning after Fajr, I didn't make a dua after the salah. And it created a big fitna. It's like I dropped a bomb in the community. Then they rang up the imam who didn't come for Fajr and said, Shaikh Faisal didn't make a dua after the salah. The imam rang me and said, to keep the peace, make dua. We don't want fitna. He rang me up and said, this is a 350 years tradition we have here in Cape Town. We make dua after every single salah. So they are now putting pressure on me to make dua after every single salah. If not, it's going to create fitna in the masjid. When the imam gives the salam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, the salah is finished. The salah is finished. When you give the taslim. What is salah? The salah is an act of ibadah beginning containing specific words and actions, beginning with takbir and ending with taslim. That is the definition of salah. An act of ibadah containing specific words and actions, beginning with takbir, the opening takbir, and ending with the taslim. So for you to make dua after every salah, it's a bid'ah. For you to be reciting hadith after every salah is bid'ah. For you to shake hands with the person who prays beside you is bid'ah, because you add to the salah. But for you to recite a hadith after some salah and leave it off, that is okay. If you recite it after, you read a hadith after some salah and leave it off after other salah, that's fine. But for you to recite a hadith after every single salah, it becomes a bid'ah because you give the impression the recitation of a hadith is a part and parcel of the salah. Next question, please. Now, I studied in Saudi Arabia. Have you ever seen an imam who led the prayers in Mecca or Medina reciting a dua after Salah? Impossible. That doesn't exist. You'll never see that. Not in the Hanbali madhab, reciting dua after every single Salah. To recite a dua after Salah is not a bid'ah. But to recite a dua after every single Salah, then it becomes a bid'ah. Because you give the impression the dua is a part of the Salah. So if you leave it off, sometimes that is fine. When it becomes a bid'ah, when you recite a dua after every single Salah. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Are the scholars of Islam exempt from qital? I asked this some ulama of haqq. Do not necessarily go to the battlefield for physical fighting. Now, concerning this issue, if the jihad is for kifaya, the ulama, they don't have to go. If the jihad is for the ayn, then the ulama have to go. When it is for the ayn, when the caliph calls for it. So if the jihad is for kifaya, the ulama doesn't have to go. The evidence for this is Surah Tawbah 122. Tawbah 122. وَمَا كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لِيَنْفِرُوا كَافَةً. And it's not proper for all the believers to go out to fight jihad altogether. Of every troop of them, a party only should go forth. Now, because of this ayah, if the jihad is for the kifaya, the ulama, it is his choice, he doesn't have to go. If the jihad is for the kifaya, and you have parents to look after, you don't have to go, you can look after your parents. But when the jihad becomes fardul ayn, it is compulsory on every single Muslim in the world to go, even the ulama. That is the answer to your question. And the evidence is Tawbah 122. I will continue the dars tomorrow. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على إمام الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. Brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to this another of our sittings. Today we will continue the topic how to be sincere to the leaders of the Muslims. So we are still on the sincerity series. Today's thought to be sincere to the leaders of the Muslims. In order for you to be sincere to the leaders of the Muslims, conditions have to be found. Then you are not being sincere to the leaders of the Muslims. Among these conditions is that you should give sincere advice to your leader. No one needs sincere advice like a leader, because the decision of the leader can put the lives and properties of the Muslims in jeopardy. So no one needs sincere advice more desperately than a Muslim needs the advice. Religion is sincere advice. Ad-Dinu Nasiha. When they ask who should we be sincere to, the Rasul said, Lillahi wa li kitabi wa li rasuli wa li a'immat al-muslimin wa a'ammatihim. We should be sincere to Allah, His kitab, His book. We should be sincere to His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We should be sincere of the Muslims and their common folks. So no one needs sincere advice like the leader of the Muslims. The other condition to be sincere to the leader of the Muslim is do not put pressure on the leader to sell out and to change. You are cutting very much to all admins. And before I started the dars, I did reboot my computer. Let me know if I'm cutting so that I can reboot a second time. The other condition for you to be sincere to the leader of the Muslim, do not put pressure on the leader to sell out, to change hands, to compromise. That is what people like to do. The leader of the Muslims in this dars that we're talking about, it means 7 different types of leaders. The first leader is the household, the husband in the household. Secondly, the Amir of a Jama'ah. Number 3, the Caliph. Number 4, the military leader. Number 5, the Imam of a masjid. So your Islamic scholars, they are among the leaders of the Muslims. Your Islamic scholars, they are the leaders of the Muslims. The governor of a country, the Qadi in the courthouse, the Imam of the masjid, the governor of a country, the judge in the courthouse. All these people are classified as the leaders of the Muslims. The military leader, the Imam of the masjid, the governor of a country, the judge in the courthouse. These are the 7 leaders. You are not allowed to put pressure on the leader to sell out. Because when Ibn Mas'ud went to Iraq and he was asked about rishwa, taking bribes, he said that is a sin. The man said, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the judge in the courthouse who takes bribe to pass wrong verdicts. Ibn Mas'ud said, ذاك الكفر, ذاك الكفر. That is the very kufr. That is the very kufr. So some people, if they know you're a judge and you pass verdicts, they want to put pressure on you to pass wrong verdicts. They want to put pressure on you to pass verdicts in their favor. So they'd like to give you money to bribe you. So because of that, some countries, they don't have Sharia. If they were pious, Allah would have allowed them to have Sharia. How can you have Sharia? You're not pious. If you aren't pious and you have Sharia, the judges are going to take bribe. So the wrong people will have their hands cut and the wrong people have their heads cut. The reason why the people don't have Sharia is because they are not pious enough to have the Sharia. Sharia is amana. For you to carry the burden of Sharia, you need to be pious. So one of the conditions to be sincere to your leader, do not put pressure on your leader to compromise and to sell out. Because when the leader compromises and sell out, this is a disaster for the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The other condition is that you are not allowed to topple the leader until you see clear kufr. Do not be from the rebellious group. Don't topple your leader unless you see clear kufr. An example of clear kufr is if the leader allows brothels and casinos and riba banks. The leader gives his bay'ah to NATO, the UN. How can you join NATO, the UN? Or the IMF? Or the leader, he helps the kufar to conquer another Muslim country. All these are examples of clear kufr. How do you think the Crusaders conquered Iraq and Afghanistan? They got the help of so-called Muslim leaders to conquer Afghanistan and Iraq. They allowed them their land space and their airspace to conquer other Muslim countries. The House of Saud helped the Crusaders to conquer Iraq, and the Brahmins helped the Crusaders to conquer Afghanistan. The House of Saud is Madkhali regime. The Pakistani regime, that is a Brahmi regime. They are the ones who helped the Crusaders to conquer Iraq and Afghanistan. You are not allowed to topple your leader until you see clear kufr. Because the Prophet said, Illa antara kufran bawa. You are not allowed to topple your leader until you see clear kufr. Illa antara kufran bawa. Therefore, whenever a leader apostates from Islam, you're not allowed to make dua for him. Abu Hanifa said, if you make dua for the leader who is a zalim and said Allah should give him long life, you become a kafir for making dua for a zalim, an oppressor. Because Allah Ta'ala said in Surah Baqarah, La yanal ahdi al-zalimin. My covenant doesn't reach the zalimin. Am I can hear me? Allah said in Baqarah 124, وَلَا يَنَالْ أَهْدِي الظَّالِمِينَ. Baqarah 124. وَلَا يَنَالْ أَهْدِي الظَّالِمِينَ. My covenant doesn't reach the Zalimin. The scholars, they said this is the evidence that if the leader is a Zalim, his leadership becomes illegitimate. Because this covenant doesn't reach those who are the Zalimin, the oppressors. Number 9, don't take sides with the leader. Many Muslims, when a Muslim country is attacked by the Zionists and the Crusaders, they take sides with the invaders. Because the invaders, they come with money, US dollars or euro. So they take bribe from the Crusaders to translate for them. These are hypocrites. They are very dangerous because they know the language and they know the terrain. The kuffar who attack Muslim countries, they can't survive as an occupying power until they get the support of the munafiqeen, the hypocrites. Hypocrites. Because they know the language and they know the terrain. Allah said in Ma'idah 51, if you give your wala to the Crusaders, you become one of them, the Jews and the Christians. Ma'idah 51. الذين آمنوا لا تتخذ اليهود والنصارى أولياء بعضهم أولياء بعض ومن يتولهم منكم فإنه منهم إن الله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. Or you believe, don't take the Jews and Christians for friends because they are nothing but friends of each other. And if any one of you should take them for friends, you become one of them. It is known of Islam by necessity that those who translate for the invaders, they are opposites. They left the fold of Islam. You can't give them the excuse of ignorance. They are helping an occupying power to occupy a Muslim country. So it is known of Islam by necessity that their treachery caused them to left the fold of Islam. People come into this room to ask me the question, are they kuffar? How can you ask that question? Of course, those who translate for the occupiers, they are kuffar. They are traitors to Allah, His Rasul, traitors to the deen, and traitors to the ummah of Muhammad. I put it to you, whenever the kuffar invade a Muslim country, it's impossible for them to continue their invasion until they get the help of the hypocrites. The hypocrites translate for them. The hypocrites are very dangerous because they know the language and they know the terrain. And every Muslim country that was attacked, whether it is Iraq or Afghanistan or Shishan, the hypocrites, they come to help the kuffar. These hypocrites, we call them cockroaches. You know why? They are found in every country and in every race. Every country which is attacked, the hypocrites, they come forward to help the invaders. Number 10, do not highlight the personal weaknesses of the leader. Number 10, do not highlight the personal weaknesses of a leader. If you see a personal weakness in your leader, be patient, because if you break away, you break away only to be in the hellfire. Man shadda shadda finnar. Maybe you can find a hadith. Whosoever sees a weakness in his leader, let him be patient. Because if you break away, you only break away to be in the hellfire. Some of you are Khawarij, you can't tolerate the weaknesses of others. You are Puritans, Khawarij. But the Prophet said the Muslim who mixes with the other Muslims and he was patient with their weaknesses, he puts up with their weaknesses and mixes with the Muslims, he is better in the sight of Allah than the man who separates from the Ummah and he lives by himself because he tolerates the weaknesses of fellow Muslims. Okay, did you find the hadith? Be patient with the weaknesses of your Muslim brothers. The believer, the Prophet ﷺ said, the believer that mixes with people and endures the hardship they cause is better than the believer who does not mix with people and so does not endure the hardship they cause. This is the hadith. So the man who socializes is better than the man who doesn't socialize. Some of you don't socialize because you look down on the Muslims. Who want to mix with them? I can't cope with their weaknesses. They smoke weed, they drink, they have girlfriends. They do this, they do that. How can I mix with such people? They backbite, they smoke weed, they have girlfriends. The man who mixes with the Muslims and he was patient with their weaknesses, he puts up with their weaknesses, he was tolerant with their weaknesses, is better in the sight of Allah than the man who keeps himself aloof. Some of you keep yourself aloof. I didn't say we can't mix with those who smoke weed. I'm saying the man who keeps himself aloof, that is his argument. It's the Khawarij who say we cannot mix with those who smoke weed and have girlfriends. I'm saying you are allowed to mix with such people. Because there is no such a thing called a perfect Muslim. The Khawarij, he keeps himself aloof. Who am I? I can't mix with those people. They are too weak. They are not on my. No, the hadith says the man who mixes with the Muslims is better than the man who keeps himself aloof. Am I breaking up? Can you hear me? I don't think you can hear me properly. Is it 1-to-1 or you can hear me? What the hadith says is the man who mixes with the weak Muslims. The hadith is on the screen in black and white. The man who mixes with the weak Muslim is better than the man who keeps himself aloof. That's what I'm saying, because the Prophet said it. So there are two types of Muslims: the man who keeps himself aloof. The man who mixes with the weak Muslims is better than the man who keeps himself aloof. Yes, that's what I'm saying. The reason why I'm saying this is because the Prophet said it. Authentic 35, bring me the hadith again. The hadith of Ibn Omar. The Prophet said it, so I'm repeating it. I'm regurgitating what the Prophet said. Okay, listen to the hadith. Ibn Omar narrated, the Prophet said, "A believer that mixes with people and endures the hardship they cause, he is better than the believer who does not mix with people and so does not endure the hardship they cause." That is it. That is the hadith that I'm talking about. The Khawarij, he keeps himself aloof and he looks down on the ummah. I'm saying even if the man smokes weed and have girlfriends, you're not supposed to cut him off. You're not supposed to make bara from him. That's the Khawarij. They make bara from people. If you cut yourself off from people and excommunicate them, they're going to apostate and become Christians. Don't you know that? The Christians, they always look out for Muslims who are excommunicated and who fall from grace. So come and join the church. We love you. Your Muslim brothers left you, but we love you. 3 Sahabas did not go to the Tabuk expedition, and the Prophet didn't speak to them for 50 days because they didn't go to the Tabuk expedition. They were not hypocrites, but they delayed until the army left, and it was too late for them to catch up with the army. So they were excommunicated for 50 days. Did you know that the Christians wrote a letter to one of them and said, "Come and join us. We heard that Muhammad doesn't talk to you these days. Come and join us. Come and become Christians." And he burnt the letter in a fire and he cried and said, "Is that what I've reached? That even Kufar wants me to come and join up with them?" He cried and burnt the letter, and he watched the letter burnt in the fire. While the tears were dripping down his cheek, he saw the letter burnt in the fire. He burnt the letter. The Christians sent a letter, said, "Come and join the church. We heard Muhammad doesn't talk to you these days. Come and join us. We will talk to you. We love you. Come to us." I'm saying to you, the Christians will manipulate the situation. He burnt that letter and cried as the letter burnt, "What I've become." He said, "Is that what I've become? That even the kuffar want me to come and join them?" He cried and burnt the letter of the Christian, and he saw the letter burn while tears were falling down his cheek. The Tablighi Jama'ah, they use this story to say if you don't go to India and Pakistan for 40 days and 4 months, they can shun speech. They put a spin on the seerah. Did you know that? The Tablighi Jama'ah. They say those who don't go for 40 days and 4 months, they can be excommunicated as well. Because to go for 4 months and 40 days, they want to make it fard. So they use this story from the seal nectar, the seerah. They say we can excommunicate those who don't go for 40 days. So we say to the Tablighi Jama'ah, we can excommunicate you as well because you believe in democracy. We can say to the Tablighi Jama'ah, excommunicate you as well and stop talking to you. Why? Because you are Democrats. You believe in democracy. What about that? Every Tablighi Jama'ah I met, they believe in democracy. Democracy is the religion of the Satan. Those who believe in Islam, their Qibla is the Black House, the Kaaba. Those who believe in democracy, their Qibla is the White House in Washington. So make up your mind which Qibla you want, the Black House or the White House. Yes, we can say to the Tablighi Jama'ah, we can excommunicate you as well. Because you are Democrats. Your Qibla is the White House in Washington because you believe in democracy. You're talking about excommunication. We can excommunicate you because your Aqidah is Zandaka. Zandaka is heresy. It's a shame that these people, they have a long beard and the thobe above the ankle, but they believe in democracy. Stop paying attention to the beard and the thobe. Pay attention to the Aqidah. Don't be naive. Look how Khalid Yassin used a thobe and a beard and rip you off in the UK. £250,000. Why are you so naive? Pay attention to the Aqidah. The Madkhali has a beard as well and a thobe above the ankle. Sit with them for them about kufr bit-taghut, al-wala wal-bara, tawhid hakimi, and see the kufr comes from their mouth. Even the Goofy Sufi and the brothers, their thobe is above the ankle. Sit with them for half an hour and talk to them about their Aqidah. You want to vomit the kufr that they spew from their mouths, whether it is a Madkhali, a Goofy Sufi, a Barelwi. Listen to their Aqidah. Stop paying attention to the thobe above the ankle and the beard. Go deeper, don't be so shallow. Go deeper and quiz them about their Aqidah. Don't be impressed with their external appearance. Because the Rasul said, Inna Allah ila suwarikum wa ajsadikum. Allah doesn't look at Allah looks at your heart, He scans your heart for sincerity. He looks at your a'mal, your actions. This hadith can be found in Sahih Muslim. So stop paying attention to the external appearance. On the authority of Abu Hurairah, verily, Allah does not look to your bodies nor to your faces, but He looks to your heart. And He points towards the heart with His finger. That is it. That's what the Prophet is saying. Pay attention to the heart. Pay attention to the Aqidah. Didn't you see I debate and he said you can join the UN? When the leaders joined the UN, they did not, because the Prophet Muhammad did the same thing. The Prophet signed a treaty at Hudaybiyah. He slandered the Prophet Muhammad. I'm sure many of you were in the debate. Didn't you see I debate a Shia and he said the Imams have more power than the Prophets? His name is Abu Muslim al-Khurasani. Didn't you see that? Didn't you see I debate a Saudi Salafi and he said when the leaders implement riba banks, they were under duress, ikrah. Didn't you see that? They were under duress, ikrah. You may say, why do you allow hypocrites to take mic? Don't you know why? We gave them enough rope to hang themselves. That's why we allowed them. All we did was to give them enough rope to hang themselves. Number 11, don't call the leaders by derogatory names. Don't call your leaders by derogatory names. Because name calling was made haram in Surah 49 verse 11. وَلَا تَلْمَزُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ بِالْأَلْقَابِ. Don't call the Muslim leaders derogatory names. Because name calling was made law in Surah 49 verse 11. Surah Hujurat verse 11. A name calling is haram in Islam, and when some of you, when you are married, you call each other by offensive names. Nor insult one another. Don't call each other by offensive nicknames. Surah 49 verse 11. Name calling is haram. And all the time name calling becomes halal is if the person likes the nickname. The Prophet called Abu Hurairah by that nickname, the father of the kitten, because he had a liking for cats. He liked cats. Abu Hurairah is not his real name. His real name is Abdul Rahman. Abu Hurairah is a nickname given to him by the Prophet because he liked cats. So the Prophet said, call him the father of the kitten. That name is halal because he did not mind the name. But if you're going to call a person a fatso because he is 200 pounds, 200 pounds is about 100 kilos. Wetback. Wetback means the Mexican who swam across the river to come to America. You call the Mexicans wetback. That's derogatory name. And in America, you have the Minuteman. What's the Minuteman? The Minuteman, he watches the border and he shoots those who try to come over the border. It takes him a minute to shoot you, get you out. Black people call each other nigger. So what's going on, nigger? Some black people don't mind being called a nigger. Whenever a white girl has a black boyfriend, she said, my nigger. Some of them said, my nigger. I'm late for work because my nigger exhausted me last night. That's what they speak. Some black people don't like being called. Some black people, they don't mind. If they love you and you call them my nigger, they don't mind. They call each other nigger. So a word, a bad word, they're trying to make it become a normal word. It's not offensive anymore, is it? Black people call each other nigger, my nigger, meaning my friend. White girls who have black boyfriends, they say my nigger. If the person doesn't mind the nickname, you can call the person that name. If the person is offended by the nickname, you're not allowed to call the person that name. As simple as that. The Mexicans are called wetback. It is offensive. Some people they call fatso. They have other nicknames. I can't remember those names. Very offensive nicknames. Nicknames are haram in Islam. Name calling is haram in Islam. You can go around calling people nickname. In some culture, it is the norm. When I was a child growing up, about 11 years old, a man went to the town center and he bought a hot dog and a hot dog. Everybody in the village called him the hot dog. If you are coming home from school, like 5, 10 boys walking home from school, and somebody scream out, hot dog, hot dog, everybody has to run because he's going to chase after the crowd. He's going to beat up anybody he catches. Everybody has to run because this man believes in collective punishment. He doesn't give a damn who call him hot dog. He's going to beat up the one he catches. Nickname haram in Islam. And Mike can hear me. Number 12, do not withhold your bay'ah from a legitimate leader. Number 12, don't withhold your bay'ah, your oath of allegiance, from a legitimate leader. Number 11, don't call him by the derogatory names. Number 11, don't call the leader by derogatory names. Number 10, don't highlight his personal weaknesses. That's number 10. I quoted a hadith and nobody brought the hadith. Did you have problems to find the hadith? Number 12 says, don't withhold your bay'ah from the leader if he is a legitimate leader. I quoted a hadith and nobody brought the hadith. The hadith says, if you see a weakness in your leader, be patient. Because if you break away, you break away to be in the hellfire. Anyone who sees a weakness in the leader, be patient. The reason why you are not allowed to withhold your bay'ah from a legitimate leader is because of the hadith. Those who die without having bound himself by an oath of allegiance to an Amir, if you die in that state, you die in a state of Jahiliyyah. Find that hadith. This hadith can be found in Sahih Muslim. Those of you who die without being bound to a bay'ah, you just bound yourself to an oath of allegiance to an Amir, the Amir of your time. If you die in that state, you die in a state of Jahiliyyah. This hadith I'm quoting can be found in Muslim. Okay, what have you found? It has been reported on the authority of Nafi' that Abdullah ibn Umar paid a visit to Abdullah ibn Mut'i in the days when atrocities were perpetrated on the people of Medina. Al-Harra in the time of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Ibn Mut'i said, place a pillar for Abu Abdurrahman family, name of Abdullah ibn Umar. But the latter said, I have not come to visit with you. I have come to you to tell you a tradition I heard from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I heard him say, one who withdraws his hand from obedience to the Amir will find no argument in his defense when he stands before Allah on the day of judgment. And one who dies without having bound himself to an oath of allegiance to an Amir will die the death of one belonging to the days of Jahiliyyah. Sahih Muslim. Yes, so whenever you have a legitimate Amir, you have to give your bay'ah. You are not allowed to withhold your bay'ah. Why do you think everybody gave their bay'ah to Abu Bakr? Everybody gave their bay'ah to Umar. Everybody gave their bay'ah to Uthman. Everybody gave their bay'ah to, well, not everybody gave their bay'ah to Ali. Muawiyah didn't give his bay'ah. Muawiyah didn't give his bay'ah. That's why the battle took place called the Battle of Siffin. If you have a leader who is implementing the Sharia and you did not give your bay'ah, you have committed a crime in Islam. Why didn't you give your bay'ah? The leader is implementing the Sharia. How can you withhold your bay'ah? So you're not allowed to withhold your bay'ah based on the hadith I quoted to you found in Muslim. You withhold your bay'ah because you want to create fitna. That's the only explanation I can give. Can't you see the big fitna that was caused when Muawiyah didn't give his bay'ah? Big fitna. Sahabas killed Sahabas. Why didn't he give his bay'ah? You should never withhold your bay'ah from the Amir. If the Amir is implementing Sharia, don't withhold your bay'ah. You're going to create fitna. And you're going to cause a lot of bloodshed in the Ummah. Number 13, do not refuse to pray. Number 13, do not refuse to pray behind him unless he is a zindiq. Don't refuse to pray behind your leader unless the leader is a zindiq. Did you know you're allowed to pray behind Asha'ira? Did you know that? Did you know that? If a person is Asha'ira, he believes Allah is everywhere. You can pray behind Asha'ira. You can pray behind a Shiite because their Aqidah takes them outside the fold of Islam. You can pray behind a Qadiani. You can pray behind a Barelwi because these people, their Aqidah takes them outside the fold. You cannot pray behind a hardcore Saudi Salafi. If a Saudi Salafi is Jahil in regards to the minute details of Aqidah, he thinks that the hadith of Ibn Abbas, kufur duna kufur, is sahih. And he puts a spin on it and he doesn't understand the hadith properly. If you pray behind that person, your salah is not batil. If the person is a hardcore madkhali who says there is no jihad anywhere, the mujahideen are khawarij and they are terrorists, you're allowed to snitch on the Muslims and tell the FBI who's going to go for jihad and the CIA, the MI5. It's halal to snitch. You can't pray behind this person because he did not reject the Tawhut. He is in bed with the Tawhut. And one of the conditions to be a Muslim, you need to reject the Tawhut. Because Allah told you in Baqarah 256. فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالتَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدِ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى لَا انْفِصَامَ لَهَا. So you are not allowed to pray behind a person who believes in spying for the Tawhut. You can snitch on the Muslims. The Mujahideen, they are Khawarij and terrorists. They are birds of the Shaitan. The greatest jihad is to catch the Mujahideen. The greatest jihad is to catch the Mujahideen. That's the fatwa the Madkhalis have passed. The Madkhalis in Saudi Arabia, they are trembling because the jihad in Yemen is heating up. Do you pay attention to fiqh al-waqi? Didn't you see the suicide bomber that took out over 100 apostate soldiers in Yemen this morning? Do you pay attention to fiqh al-waqi, or you're like the ostrich who dips his head in the sand and thinks everything in the world is hunky-dory? The world is utopia and euphoria. The problem in the world, the problem is only in your mind. Did you see what happened in Yemen this morning? Over 100 apostate soldiers were taken out. So when they killed Anwar Awlaki, they thought that's it. Anwar Awlaki is out of the way. Do we have a link for this? I'm sure we have a link for that. It's such a popular incident. I'm sure one of the admins have a link. The AT5 can bring in the link within 5 seconds, I think. I was told not to say suicide bomber, I should say martyrdom operation. Do you pay attention to fiqh al-waqi? Did you know what happened in Yemen this morning? They killed Anwar Awlaki and think that's it. We are going to control Yemen. A martyrdom operation took out over 100 of their soldiers this morning. And over 300 have lost their limbs, injured. And to lose your limb is worse than to kill the person because they can't go back to the front line. Every time they see the missing leg, they remember what happened. I'm not surprised about what's happening in Yemen because Rasul said an army will rise up in Yemen, but the glory of Islam. I'm sure you know the hadith of Abiyan, because I've quoted it 1,000,000 times in this room. An army will come from Yemen, they will be 12,000 strong. And they'll bring back the glory of Islam. So the Madkhalis are trembling because, okay, this is the link, death toll in Yemen. Did you see the link? Death toll in Yemen, suicide bombing rises to 90. Al-Qaeda claims responsibility. Ibn Abbas narrated, the Prophet said, an army of 12,000 will come out of Abiyan, that's in Yemen. They will give victory to Allah and His Messenger. They are the best between myself and them. Musnad Ahmed. So what took place in Yemen, I'm not surprised because the hadith is clear. An army will come from Abiyan, will bring back the glory of Islam. The Madkhalis are trembling because they said to the Madkhalis to release all the sheikhs that are in prison. And many more messages were sent to other governments, but I don't want to talk about it. Go and find out who sent messages to which government. The Mujahideen sent many more messages to many more governments who lock up scholars. I don't want to talk about it. The admins can bring the link. Which Mujahideen sent which message to which government. I leave the Mujahideen to find the link. Which Mujahideen sent messages to which government? Which government did they warn? When I was in prison in Kenya, Al-Shabaab sent a message to the Kenyan government and said, if you don't release Shaikh Faisal, we're going to attack you. And they gave them, I think, 3 days. So they had to charter a plane costing $500,000 to get me out of Kenya. Because Al-Shabaab sent a message and gave them a deadline. So whenever scholars are in prison, the Mujahideen are deadlines, give them messages. Release the Shaykh or things will turn upside down and around. I'm not going to tell you which Mujahideen sent which message to which government. That's up for the admins to bring the link for that. But more messages were sent to tyrannical regimes, kafir regimes, to release certain sheikhs. What if you go to Mecca and Medina to perform Hajj and Umrah? Are you going to pray behind the Imams? Because some people go to Mecca and Medina to perform Hajj and Umrah, and they refuse to pray behind the Imams, claiming that the Imam was appointed by a king, King Abdullah. And because it's an apostate king, I will never pray behind the Imams. I'm praying in my hotel room. You don't have to do that. That is the Aqidah of Abu Isa's group, Jamaat al-Muslimin. When you go to Mecca and Medina, you're allowed to pray behind the Imams that they put there to lead the Salah. If the Imam wants to support the House of Saud, that's his problem. That means his Salah is batil. Don't forget the Prophet said these are leading the Salah. They pray for themselves and they pray for you. If their prayer is accepted, then it is accepted. If their prayer is batil, you have your Salah, but they have no Salah. يُصَلُّونَ لَهُمْ وَلَكُمْ وَإِنْ أَصَابُوا فَلَهُمْ وَلَكُمْ وَإِنْ أَخْطَأُوا فَلَكُمْ وَعَلَيْهِمْ. This is the hadith. So for you to go to Mecca and Medina and you refuse to pray behind the Imams there, that means you have problems. Your Aqidah is faulty. Because the hadith says if the Imam who is installed, if he doesn't pray properly, his Salah is batil, but you have your Salah. And you don't have the power to remove the Imams they put in place in Mecca and Medina. When you go to perform your Hajj, you go and perform your Hajj, your Umrah, and you leave. And you pray behind the Imams there because you don't have the power to remove them from office. Now, some people say, I will never make Hajj because Mecca is Dar Harb. Listen to their Aqidah. I will never make Hajj because Mecca is Dar Harb. A'udhu Billah. What kind of Aqidah is that? Don't you know the Prophet made Umrah when idols were still in the Kaaba? Why did we study the seal nectar in this room in details? So that Jahil people will not pass their dodgy fatwas like what you have just heard. Didn't the Prophet sign a treaty at Hudaybiyah and they told the Prophet, come back next year to perform your Umrah? And the Prophet went and performed Umrah while idols were still inside the Kaaba. And then the Prophet conquered 8 years after the Hijrah and broke their idols. And then he sent Abu Bakr Siddiq to perform Hajj, the 9 year after the Hijrah. And then he sent Ali with a letter and said, tell them that no kafir is allowed in Mecca when I come to make my Hajj next year, which is the 10th of the Hijrah. You have 4 months to take Shahada. If you don't take Shahada, your head is gone. Because kafirs are not allowed in Mecca. So your honeymoon period in kufur and shirk and zandaka is 4 months. And after the 4 months elapse, those who didn't take Shahada, their head is gone because a kafir is not allowed in Mecca. Don't you know that? What do you mean when you make Hajj, your Hajj is batil because Mecca is Darul Harb? Darul Harb means the land of the enemy. What do you have to say the Prophet made Umrah when idols were still inside the Kaaba? We studied the life of the Prophet, the seal nectar, in details in this room. So that you don't speak with no knowledge. Don't speak like a Jahil. So those millions of Muslims who have been making Hajj since the House of Saud was installed. The House of Saud, they have been in power for many years. When do you think the House of Saud was in power? Since the 1920s. Abdulaziz established the House of Saud. So all those millions of Muslims who have made Hajj, that means their Hajj is batil. What kind of Aqidah is that? For you to pass a fatwa like this, because what you spoke about is a fatwa. You pass a fatwa. That means when the Prophet made Umrah and the idols were still inside the Kaaba, that means the Umrah of the Prophet was batil. We study the seal nectar so that we understand Aqidah and Manhaj and Fiqh. When you call for Sharia in Dar al-Harb, that means you didn't study the seal nectar. Because according to the seal nectar, the Prophet called for Tawheed in Dar al-Harb. How can you invite a European to Salah, which is Sharia, and he doesn't believe in the existence of Allah? What a ridiculous Aqidah you have, a Manhaj. A European in France and the UK who is an atheist, how can you implement Sharia on him to pray 5 times a day? To pray 5 times a day is Sharia. How can you command? We were on the point that you are not allowed to refuse to pray behind your leader unless he is a zindiq. If the leader is not a zindiq, it is haram to refuse to pray behind your leader. And some of you went to Mecca and Medina for Hajj and Umrah, and you refused to pray behind the leader who was installed by the Saudi regime, claiming that Mecca is Dar al-Harb, therefore you're not going to pray behind an imam who was installed by an apostate king. This argument doesn't make sense, and those who went to Mecca and Medina to perform their Hajj and Umrah is accepted. Their Hajj isn't batil, and your argument doesn't make sense. Now, who told you that if Mecca is Dar Harb, Hajj should be stopped, Umrah should be stopped? Don't you know the Prophet made Umrah when idols were still inside the Kaaba? So this fatwa you have passed, it shows that you are Jahil and you did not study the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's your problem. You are Jahil and you didn't study the life of Muhammad, and you did not know that the Prophet made Umrah when idols were still inside the Kaaba. We studied the seal nectar so that our Aqidah and Fiqh as well as Manhaj is accurate, and we do not guess when we speak about the Deen. We speak with with sure knowledge, with basira. The other condition to be sincere to the leader is that you should answer his call for jihad. Do not turn away from your leader when he calls for jihad. You should always answer his call for jihad. The same way, when you are married to a woman and you call her to bed, and the woman is supposed to answer your call. If you refuse her, if she refuses your call, all the angels curse the woman. It's the same thing. Whenever your leader calls for jihad, you should answer his call for jihad. When the Prophet called for jihad, the Tabuk expedition, 3 Sahabas did not go. They procrastinated, they delayed until they were left behind. 50 days the Prophet did not say Assalamu alaikum to them. Not even their wives were allowed to say Assalamu alaikum to them, and much less to go to bed with them. They were excommunicated from the community for 50 days. And they said that those days were the worst days in their lives. So these 3 Sahabas who were excommunicated at the Tabuk expedition because they did not answer the call for jihad, it proves to you that when you do not answer the call for jihad of your leader, you have committed a crime in Islam. Therefore, the 14th condition to be sincere to your leader is that you should answer his call for jihad. And do not stay at home when he calls for jihad, because if the leader calls for jihad, jihad becomes fard al-ain. Whenever the leader calls for jihad, it becomes fard al-ain. And whenever the enemy is attacking the Muslim country, jihad becomes fard al-ain. So if you are asked the question, when does jihad becomes fard al-ain? The answer is, jihad becomes fard al-ain when the kafir is attacking the Muslim country. Secondly, when the leader calls for jihad. These are the 2 occasions in which jihad becomes fard al-ain. When the country is invaded, and if the leader calls for jihad, then jihad becomes fard al-ain. Many of you ask yourself the question, why didn't Ahmad ibn Hanbal make takfir on Ma'mun? Because Ma'mun was a Mu'tazilite. The answer to the question is that Ma'mun, he practiced al-wala wal-bara, he did jihad, and he implemented the Sharia. And when he used to call for jihad, people used to answer his call. They would say to him, your aqidah that the Quran was created, that is between you and Allah. But you are the caliph, therefore we will answer your call for jihad. As for your dodgy aqidah that the Quran was created, that's between you and Allah. But because you are the caliph, we will answer your call for jihad. Therefore, the 14th condition to be sincere to your leader is that you should always answer his call for jihad. Yes, Ma'mun called for jihad and Sharia and al-wala wal-bara. The 3rd thing he did was al-wala wal-bara. He didn't take sides with the kuffar to kill Muslims. Ma'mun, the Abbasid caliph, didn't take sides with the kuffar to kill Muslims. So these 3 reasons prevented Ahmad ibn Hanbal from making takfir on Ma'mun, even though he was a Mu'tazila. The 15th reason to be sincere to your leader: don't put yourself forward as a candidate for leadership when the ummah has already given their bay'ah to a leader. Don't put yourself forward as a candidate for leadership. The 15th condition to be sincere to your leader: don't put yourself forward as a candidate for leadership when the ummah has already given their bay'ah to a leader. The Prophet said, if the Muslims unite on a leader, and the person came forward and said, I want to be the leader, I want to be the leader, the Prophet said, chop off the head of the second man. Don't put yourself forward for leadership if the ummah has already given bay'ah to one. Don't put yourself forward. The Prophet said, if the Muslims unite on a leader, and then another man came forward and said, I want to be the leader, the Prophet said, chop off the head of the second man. It has been narrated on the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri that the Messenger of Allah said, when oath of allegiance has been given for 2 caliphs, kill the one for whom the oath was taken later. So you unite on a caliph, and then a man came forward and said, I want to be the caliph. The Prophet said, chop off the head of the second one, because already you gave your bay'ah to a caliph. So the second man, he's coming to create fitna. And the person who creates fitna, his head should be chopped off. So this is the 15th condition to be sincere to your leader. Don't put yourself forward as a leader if the Muslims have already united upon a leader. One day, some men were with the Prophet, and one of them said, O Messenger of Allah, choose me to be the governor of a particular place. The Prophet said, we don't give authority to those who seek it and those who are keen to have it. Okay, find me that hadith. You have 5 seconds to find the hadith. Okay, look, you found the hadith even before the 5 seconds elapsed. Narrated Abu Musa, 2 men from my tribe, and I entered upon the Prophet. One of the 2 men said to the Prophet, O Allah's apostle, appoint me as a governor. And so did the second. The Prophet said, we do not assign the authority of ruling to those who ask for it, nor to those who are keen to have it. So whenever a person canvassed the Muslims and said, I want to be the caliph, choose me to be the caliph, he has disqualified himself, because we don't give authority to those who ask for it, those who canvass the Muslims to have the authority, and those who are keen to have it. There is a man in the UK called Abu Isa. He is from Jordan. He went to the UK and he went around canvassing the Muslims to be the caliph. Can I be the caliph? He was a baker baking bread in Edgware Road. And one morning he woke up and said, I think I'm the caliph. So they were laughing at him from the baker's oven to the caliphate's chair. He was locked up in Belmarsh. When I saw him in Belmarsh, he was in a vegetative state. It was like vegetable. His manhaj was wrong to declare himself a caliph while he was living behind enemy lines. All of you who are living in Europe and America, you are living behind enemy lines. Why is it the kuffar can have Babar Ahmed in prison for a decade, no charge? Because Babar Ahmed is living behind enemy lines. They can destroy your life. They can keep you in prison for 10 years, no charge. The way they destroyed the life of Babar Ahmed. Because you are living behind enemy lines. And it is Fardul Ain on all of you to make hijrah from the UK and the USA if you can find a better place to live. Fardul Ain. For you to make hijrah from the UK or the USA if you can find a safe haven. I'll tell you a country that you will enjoy living in, and you don't need a visa to go there. Since you keep asking me every day, where can I go? You can go to, you'll be given a warm welcome. The Muslims will love you there, and you don't need a visa. Oman, go to Oman. If you don't believe what I'm saying, jump on a plane and go to Oman and see how you'll be treated with love and respect. I don't know why you're living among the kuffar in Europe and America. These are scums of the earth. These are the worst people in the world. Whether they are black or white, it makes no difference. These are low-life scums of the earth. They are living amongst in Europe and America. These are human filth. If you don't believe me, if you don't trust my judgment, jump on a plane and go to Oman and see how you are treated with love and respect. You don't want to leave. So every day you come to Pal Talk, you ask me, where can I go? Where can I go? Okay, since you keep asking me the same question every day, I give you the answer. Go to Oman. You don't even need a visa. Go and see the love that you will receive. I don't know why you're living among the black and white kuffar of Europe and America. They are the worst of Allah's creation. They are low-life scums of the earth. You should be ashamed to be living among people like that. They believe men can marry men, women marry women. Go to Oman and test my advice. The Rasul said to his Sahabas, go to Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, nobody is oppressed. There's a king in Ethiopia, nobody is oppressed. I'm saying to you, go to Oman and you'll get love and respect. And stop living among the black and white kuffar in the West, who are low-life scums of the earth and fuel for the hellfire. This is sincere to your leader, is that you should spend for his projects that he wants to launch. If your leader is launching a project, you should spend for the project. Building schools, building hospitals, universities. Whatever noble project your leader is launching, spend for his projects. Do you remember when the Prophet was going on the Tabuk expedition? He sent Bilal to collect sadaqah from the women. These women of Medina were so sincere, they took off their earrings and bangles and necklaces and gave it to Bilal as sadaqah. Women are attached to their jewelry. If a woman's house is being burnt down, the first thing she'll rescue is her jewelry and her cat. Everything else is irrelevant for her. Her cat and her jewelry, every woman. That's the first thing she'll rescue if her house is burning down. So even though people like their jewelry, women like their jewelry, they took off their jewelry and gave it to Bilal at the Tabuk expedition. Their gold rings, their necklaces, their bangles, their chains around their necks, and gave it to Bilal. And the Prophet's army was 30,000 strong, the largest army the Prophet formulated before he died. They spent for the project of the Prophet. Omar gave away half of what he had in life. Abu Bakr gave away, Uthman gave a third. Abu Bakr gave away everything he owned in life. The Prophet was very surprised. He said to Abu Bakr, "What did you leave behind for your wife and children?" Because he gave everything he owned in life. He said to the Prophet, "I left behind for my wife and children Allah and His Rasul." Look at the taqwa of these Sahabas. He gave all of what he owned in life, and he said, "I left behind for them Allah and His Rasul." On this occasion, the Sahabas became convinced we cannot compete with Abu Bakr in regards to taqwa. We can't. He will always beat us. We can't compete with Abu Bakr in regards to taqwa, in regards to sincerity. So you should always spend fi sabilillah for the noble projects of your leader. Some people, they have a problem to give away in sadaqah. Sadaqah is not on their agenda. They have never contributed anything for the da'wah, for Islam. They can't. One of the sons of a munafiq, they don't give sadaqah. They can't give sadaqah. They are tight-fisted. Bilal came back, he described one of the women as having a black spot on her cheek. The scholars, some scholars that is, they use this hadith to say the niqab is not fard, the face veil. If the niqab was fard, why Bilal described one of the women as having a black spot on her cheek? Something conditioned to be sincere to the leader. Always choose the most qualified to be your leader. The last, always choose the most qualified. You have found the hadith about the black spot on the cheek of the woman. That hadith is found in Muslim. The scholars use that hadith to say the niqab is sunnah, not fard. If it was fard, why Bilal saw the face of the woman and she had a black spot on her cheek? A debate took place between Bin Baz and Albani. And Albani used this hadith to checkmate Bin Baz. And they deported him because they said, "How can you checkmate our Shaykh?" He was deported to Jordan. When I tell the Salafis this, they don't like to hear about it. Didn't you know a debate took place between Bin Baz and Albani about the niqab? Albani used this hadith to checkmate Bin Baz. And he got deported when he checkmated Bin Baz. He got deported to Jordan. So how dare you checkmate our Shaykh? Now a debate is dangerous because you don't know what evidence your opponent is coming at you with. Why do you think people run away from debate? Because you don't know what evidence your opponent is coming at you with. Didn't you see what happened when we debated people on Pal Talk? Don't you see they always run away? A Parvezi ran away, I think 2 nights ago. A Parvezi, a person who believes in Quran but not Hadith. A Madkhali ran away. His name is Hadi 46. He ran away. He said, "I don't want to debate Shaikh Faisal, I want to debate his students." If you can't win a debate against me, what makes you can defeat my students? They think they won't be able to bring the Hujjah so rapidly. They think they'll be slow in bringing the Quran. That's why he wants to debate my students. They are thinking my students will be slow in bringing the hujjah. When you are debating, you can't be slow in bringing the hujjah. You have to be sharp. Why do you think when I'm on Pal Talk speaking, I always scream and shout? Where is the hujjah? Where is the hujjah? You can't delay in bringing the hujjah. You have to be sharp. If you delay in bringing the hujjah, that means you are not prepared. Those who fail to prepare has got to be prepared to fail. A debate is dangerous because you don't know what hujjah your opponent has to come up against you with. That's why people run away from debates. Because it's embarrassing to be checkmated with Quran and Sunnah. Very, very embarrassing. Bin Baz said to Albani said to Bin Baz, if the niqab was fard, why Bilal saw the face of the woman and he told the Prophet one of the women have a black spot on her cheek. And you can't tell me this took place before the ayah of hijab was revealed. Don't come to me with that rubbish. The Tabuk expedition is the last battle before the Prophet died. Not the early battles like Badr or Uhud, the last battle. So don't come to me and tell me Bilal saw the face of the woman before the ayah of hijab was revealed. Don't tell me that. Why do you think we study the seal nectar? So you can come to us with your crap. That's why we study the seal nectar in details. And we covered the book, The Seal Nectar, in this room from cover to cover in details. We studied the seal nectar so you can come to us with your crap. It's like those who say we will call for Sharia in Dar al-Harb. I say to you, how can you tell an Englishman, a Frenchman, a Dutchman who doesn't even believe Allah exists to pray to Allah? How can you tell him to pray to Allah? Sharia, Salah is Sharia. That's what Allah said in the Quran. That those, when we give them tamkeen in the land, authority, what do? They establish Salah and they establish Zakah. Surah 22 verse 41. Surah 22, الذين إن مكناهم في الأرض أقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة. Those, Surah 22 verse 41. Those Muslim leaders, when we give them tamkeen in the land, power and authority, what do? They establish Salah and Zakah. Salah and Zakah is Sharia. How can you tell a white man in France, he's not circumcised, he doesn't believe there's a God, he eats pork and drink wine, he's bisexual? How can you tell him to pray? He doesn't believe Allah exists, so who is he going to pray to? Can't you see your manhaj is wrong? You're calling for Sharia in Dar al-Harb, in the UK, the USA, in France, in Belgium, in the Netherlands, in Australia. You're calling these people for Sharia. Salah is Sharia. How can you tell a man to pray when he doesn't believe that Allah exists? When the Rasul sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen, he said, إِنَّكَ تَأْتِي قَوْمًا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ. You are going to come across Ahl al-Kitab when you go to Yemen, Jews and Christians. The first thing you should invite them to is what? La ilaha illallah, the Tawheed of Allah. And when they believe in the Tawheed, then you invite them to Salah. When they believe in Salah, then you invite them to Zakah. That is the manhaj. Those Muslim rulers who, if we give them power in the land, they order for Iqamat al-Salah and the Zakah. Yes. And Zakah is Sharia. How can you tell a white man in France to pray 5 times a day when this white man in France, he doesn't even believe Allah exists, he's an atheist? What kind of a manhaj are you practicing? You make me, I don't know what to say. Your manhaj is laughable, it's ridiculous and ludicrous. It's absolutely far-fetchedness. That's what happened when people don't study the seal nectar. If you don't study the life of the Prophet in details, the way we studied it in details in this room, you are nothing but a headless chicken. You are neither here nor there. You are a headless chicken. You are in a state of loss. Listen to the hadith of Ibn Abbas. When the Prophet sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen, he said to him, you are going to a nation from the people of the book. إِنَّكَ تَأْتِي قَوْمًا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ. So let the first thing to which you invite them is the Tawheed of Allah. The Tawheed of Allah. That's our manhaj. So why don't you swallow your pride and put your hands up and say, we got it wrong. We have to go back to the manhaj. We got it wrong. We shouldn't have invited people to Sharia in Darham. Some of your followers gave out leaflets in Burnley about the homosexuals, to kill homosexuals. They were arrested in Burnley, and I think they got 7 years for inciting murder against the homosexual community. You got 7 years for giving out leaflets in Burnley. Why didn't you give out leaflets saying that there is only one God and Muhammad is the messenger? They won't give you 7 years for that. You're giving out leaflets to kill homosexuals in the UK. So they call it incitement to murder. Don't you know the UK is run by homosexuals? They got introduced to homosexuality at boarding school. They call it fraternity. All the MPs in the UK are bisexuals, or the majority of them. They went to boarding schools and they got introduced to homosexuality at boarding school. They control the parliament in the UK. You can't give out leaflets inciting the murder of homosexuals. They're going to throw the book at you. You might never leave prison. They control the UK. You can't call for Sharia in Dar Harb. You call for Tawheed in Dar Harb, not Sharia. Your manhaj is upside down and around. 3 Muslim men convicted over gay hate leaflets. Yes, that's what I saw on the internet. And you need to keep in touch with Fiqh al-Waqi as well. Some of you don't know what is happening in the world. I was talking to somebody in PM 3 hours ago, and they did not know that a huge bomb went off in Yemen, and the bomb took out over 100 Kafir soldiers. 2 hours ago, I was talking to somebody in PM. They did not know what's happening in Yemen. A huge bomb went off and took out over 100 Kafir soldiers, apostate soldiers. The Islamic ruling in regards to the Kafir army, like the Pakistani army, the Yemeni army, is that you fight them as an apostate group, a Kafir group, and you leave the rest to Allah. That is what Ibn Taymiyyah said. When there is an apostate army, a Kafir army, you fight them like a Kafir group and you leave the rest to Allah. We don't have time to examine what's in your heart. What's in your heart, only Allah knows. We found you with a Kafir group, so we fight you as a Kafir and an apostate, and we leave the rest to Allah. If Mujahideen infiltrated the army and we killed the Mujahideen accidentally, that's between you and Allah. That's between you and Allah. Ibn Taymiyyah said we don't have time to examine what's in your heart. When the Prophet saw his uncle fighting at Badr with the kuffar, he treated his uncle as a kafir and said, you have to ransom yourself. Why? Because you, my uncle, I found you with Quraysh, a kafir group. His uncle was called Abbas. His uncle was called Abbas. He told his uncle, you have to ransom yourself because we found you with a kafir group. So we are going to judge you as a kafir. If we find you with a kafir group and you are captured, we are going to judge you as a kafir. Your intention to be with the group, that's not our business. That's between you and Allah. That is Sharia law. And maybe some of you don't even know what's happening in Afghanistan as well. Maybe you don't even know what's happening in Shishan, in Chechnya. Maybe you don't even know. The way you did not know about the bomb that went off in Yemen today. The Rasul said, those of you who are not concerned with the affairs of the Muslims, you are not one of us. Those of you who are not concerned with the affairs of the Muslims, you are not one of us. Are you like that retard Abu Khadija who said, I don't know who Afia Siddiq is? Are you like him? Abu Khadija said, I don't know who Afia Siddiq is. He passed a fatwa. Don't help Babar Ahmed. As for Afia Siddiq, I don't know who she is. How can you not know who Afia Siddiq is? Even Kuffar know who she is. You know why Abu Khadija doesn't know who Afia Siddiq is? Because he is a Saudi Salafi and they don't care about the Muslims. They are Khawarij with the Muslims. They hate Muslims. The Madkhalis, they hate Muslims. That's why he said, don't help Babar Ahmed, and I don't know who Afia Siddiq is. Who the hell cares who's Afia Siddiq? Is she sending me my paycheck? Is Afia Siddiq giving me my paycheck monthly? I don't care who Afia Siddiq is. She's not giving me my paycheck. That's their attitude. I'm concerned about who's giving me my paycheck. They are Murji with the leaders. Murji means a liberal. And they are Khawarij with the Muslims. They hate Muslims. They say you can snitch on the Muslims. That's a Saudi Salafi creed. The great jihad is to kill the Mujahideen. That's their fatwa. Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan, that's his fatwa. The greatest jihad is to kill the Mujahideen. The Rasul said the biggest and the most prominent characteristic of the Khawarij is that they will kill the Muslims and they will leave alone the kuffar. That's the definition given to you by the Prophet. The definition of a Khawarij. They'll kill the Muslims and leave alone the kuffar. So use your common sense and find out who are the Khawarij. They are friendly with kuffar and they kill Muslims. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know who are the Khawarij. And these people, they love the kuffar and they imitate the lifestyle of the kuffar. They imitate their lifestyle. Taqleed. The Prophet said if the kuffar enter inside a lizard hole, you'll enter into the lizard hole after them. The grandson of the king, King Abdullah. He got sent to jail 20 years. Life imprisonment, 20 years. He killed his gay lover in the UK, in London. Marble Arch, Marble Central London. You're supposed to be a Wahhabi. How can you be gay? Who can bring me that link? Authentic Tawhid 19. Bring me that link. How can you be gay? Kill your gay lover and get 20 years imprisonment. You're a prince and you're doing 20 years imprisonment in the UK. Which prison are you in? You're supposed to be a Wahhabi. How can you be a gay? What a disgrace. You are the grandson of the king, King Abdullah. You have a lot of money. Why didn't you get married? In the gay community, they bully each other. You think it's hunky-dory in that community. Didn't you know that? The gays, they beat up each other and bully each other and kill each other. You think it's hunky-dory, the gay community? They bully each other, they beat up each other. They rip off each other and they kill each other. That's why many people object gays can't adopt. A gay relationship only lasts for about 5 years. It's not stable and they kill each other a lot. You're supposed to be a Wahhabi. What you're doing, killing your gay lover and get 20 years imprisonment. The Prophet said, you will follow those who came before inch by inch, step by step. If they should enter inside the lizard hole, you'll enter into the lizard hole after them. So you're imitating the kuffar to the letter. What a disgrace. 20 years imprisonment in London for killing your gay lover. In a lift. In, I think, Marylebone, according to the reports. Where's the link I asked for? Authentic Tawhid 19. There, that's the link. You are supposed to be a Wahhabi. What are you doing being a gay? When they found his laptop, they said on his laptop he visited gay websites. You should use your laptop to come to Paul Talk to learn your deen. You're so stupid. You should have used your laptop to come to Paul Talk, Authentic Tawhid, to learn your deen, not to be visiting gay websites. When these kafirs arrest you, the first thing they go for is your laptop to see what you get up to. That's the first thing they take off, your laptop, to see what you were getting up to. Your laptop tells them everything about you. You'll be surprised. Your mobile phone, your cell phone, and your laptop tells the kuffar every single thing about you. They bug your phone, they can tell if you're having an affair and whether you have an affair with a man or a woman. When I was arrested in Kenya, the first thing they took off me was my laptop, and they went through it in details. If they found something dodgy on my laptop, that's front page news in Kenyan newspapers. Kenyan newspapers, British newspapers, American newspapers, Jamaican newspapers. Gay porn on the laptop of Shaikh Faisal. The kufar will be happy. That's what they want to see. Yes, when I was in Kenya and they arrested me, the first thing they took off me was my laptop, and they went through it to see what I get up to. If they found something on the laptop which is shameful, that's front page news. Gay porn found on the laptop of Shaikh Faisal. Child porn found on the laptop of Shaikh Faisal. That's what they want to be in the news. The kuffar, when they write about this Saudi prince, they put in their papers that he visited gay porn sites. That's the first thing they put in the newspapers. We found him visiting gay sites with his laptop. That's what he visited. You're a prince. You're rich. Why don't you get married? You are the grandson of the king. You're not poor. You are the grandson of the king. Why didn't you get? You can have 4 wives easily. What a disgrace. The Prophet said you'll imitate the kuffar. It's called imitating the kuffar. You can't imitate the kuffar. Their ship is sinking. If the ship is sinking, why do you want to go on the ship? If you see the Titanic sinking, why do you want to be on the Titanic? You tell me. The ship is sinking. The kuffar, their lifestyle is deteriorating. Why do you want to jump on a ship if the ship is sinking? I said the condition for you to choose your leader. In order for you to choose a leader, the conditions have to be found. Choose the one that has the most knowledge of Quran. If they are equal, the one with the more knowledge of Sunnah. If they are equal, the one who is older. The person taking notes, the last chapter, the conditions for a caliph. Choose the one with the more knowledge, the most knowledge of Quran. If they are equal, then you go to the one with knowledge of Hadith. If they are equal, you go to the one who starts to practice Islam first. If they are equal in knowledge of Quran and Hadith, you choose the one who starts to practice Islam first. The one who made hijrah from Jahiliyyah to Islam first. If they are equal, you go to the one who is older. Okay, you found the Hadith. Abu Mas'ud Al-Ansari reported the messenger as saying, the one who is most versed in Allah's book should act as imam for the people. But if they are equally versed in reciting it, then the one who has the most knowledge regarding the Sunnah. If they are equal regarding the Sunnah, then the earliest one to immigrate, to make hijrah. If they immigrate at the same time, then the earliest one to embrace Islam. No man must lead another in prayer where the latter has authority, or sit in his place of honor in his house. So when you go to somebody's house, the man of the house is the imam. In this narration, use the word age in place of Islam. Okay, the person taking notes, the last chapter, the conditions to be the caliph. The conditions to be the caliph has to be Muslim. Muslim, secondly, male, and the third, mature, male, mature. The fourth, he has to be sane, not a madman, sane. Number 5, he has to be free. Where is the fourth? Sane. Number 5, free. If the caliph gets locked up in prison, he has lost his caliphate. According to Sharia law, there is no khilafah for the man who is in prison. He has to be free from being disabled. He cannot be disabled. He cannot be in a wheelchair. Number 7, he has to be an Islamic scholar, an alim. It's haram for the caliph to be an ordinary man, he has to be an alim. Number 8, he should be wise. Number 9, he should be just. He cannot be a zalim. Because of Baqarah 124, the tyrant cannot inherit this mantle, the mantle of leadership. وَلَا يَنَالْ أَهْدِي الظَّالِمِينَ. Because of Baqarah 124, the scholars say the caliph has to be just. 10, the caliph has to be a mujahid who takes the battle to the kuffar. وَلَا يَنَالْ أَهْدِي الظَّالِمِينَ. My covenant doesn't include the tyrants. Covenant means leadership. A mujahid who takes the battle to the kuffar. Number 11, he has to be patient and forbearing, not quick to anger. The 12th and last condition, he has to be Qurayshi, because Rasul said, Al-Khilafa min Quraysh. People say, I don't accept the 12th condition because the Prophet said, obey the leader even if a black slave of Ethiopia become your leader with nappy head. We say to them, you have black people who are Qurayshi as well. You can't refute this condition. Okay, bring me the hadith. Al-Khilafa min Quraysh. Quraysh is the most noble tribe on earth because they are the tribe of Abraham and Ismail. Every other tribe is inferior to Quraysh. And because of that, the Prophet said, Al-Khilafa min Quraysh. The caliphate has to be from Quraysh. This superiority of the Quraysh is only when they practice the deen, the Prophet said. Only if they practice the deen. If they leave off the deen and become a kafir like Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl, there is no superiority for Quraysh. This matter rule will remain with the Quraysh and none will rebel against them, but Allah will throw him down on his face as long as the Quraysh uphold the deen. Did you hear that? What the Prophet said? As long as Quraysh is on the deen. If the Quraysh is a kafir like Abu Lahab, how can he be the caliph? He has the condition, the Quraysh has to be on the deen. Then he will enjoy superiority. Why the Quraysh tribe is the most noble tribe? Because it's the tribe of Ismail and Abraham. We have finished our topic for today. I'll pause and take 5 questions. You don't have to stay with me, you can go to bed. Somebody PM me and said they're tired. You don't have to stay, you can go to bed. Jazakallah for your sabr, your patience. We have finished the topic, how to be sincere to the Muslim leaders. I'm taking 5 questions in regards to what you have heard. Those who don't agree that the caliphate should be from Quraysh, they are mistaken. And their fiqh is wrong. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. You said we shouldn't disassociate ourselves from Muslims who are weak. But you ever heard the saying, birds of a feather flock together, and your friends are a reflection of you. So if a sister is weak in Iman and you try to help her and she continues the same behavior, would I be wrong to cut her off? The problem is that if you cut them off, they'll become Christians. Don't you know that? People want to be loved and feel loved. You're not allowed to cut off weak people. They need help. The only time you cut them off is if you find that they are affecting your Iman and you are becoming weak as well. Then you can cut them off and tell them to go seek help from other people. Don't forget when the Prophet didn't speak to his Sahabas who didn't go to Tabuk for 50 days. The Christians wrote them a letter and said, come to us. Muhammad doesn't talk to you anymore. We'll talk to you. We love you. Come to us. It's called exploiting the rift. And the Sahaba, when he read the letter, he burnt the letter. And he said, is this what I have become? Kufar are inviting me to their church? Is that what I have been reduced to? And while he saw the letter burning, tears were dropping down from his eyes. We studied that in the sealed nectar. I hope you are listening to our series on the sealed nectar from the blog, those of you who missed it. Because every battle we took out, the battle of Uhud, the battle of the Ahzab, the battle of Hunayn, every battle we picked out at least 20 lessons. Many of you missed the series, the sealed nectar. You need to go and listen from the blog. You only cut them off. If you are affecting your iman, then you can cut them off and tell them to go seek help from somebody else. But their company is not helpful. Their company is bad for you. It's making your iman go down. Then you can cut them off and say, go seek help from somebody else. But if you cut off weak Muslims, they'll become Christians. Or they become apostates. They need help. Can't you see when your car battery is flat, you need jump leads, and then you can start your car. And a Muslim brother comes with his car and give you a jump start with his jump leads. His battery is strong, your battery is flat. Likewise, when a Muslim, his iman is flat, weak, he needs to be in the company of strong Muslims to become strong again. And because of that, Allah told you in Surah Tawbah 119, or you believe, fear Allah and be in the company of the real Muslims, the Sadiqeen. Not the Munafiqeen, the Sadiqeen. Surah 9, 119. And Allah Ta'ala spoke about the Siddiqeen in Surah Nisa 69. What did Allah say? وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا. Surah Nisa verse 69. وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا. Allah told you who you should keep company with. These are the excellent companions, Allah said. وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا. You should always keep company with real Muslims and stay away from the fake Muslims and the hypocrites. They'll make your iman go down. I'm taking 5 questions, where are the others? It's the Khawarij who like to give up on Muslims. You can only give up on a person who makes a mockery of Islam, a munafiq. If the person makes a mockery of Islam, then you can excommunicate them. That's a munafiq. If the person didn't make a mockery of Islam, then you should not give up on them. Assalamu alaikum. If a Muslim caliph or king grants safety to a kafir or kafir nation, are all the knowing Muslims obligated to uphold this treaty, no matter if the treaty is right or wrong? If the caliph signs a treaty, then all Muslims have to uphold the treaty, because the caliph is the Muslim emperor for all the Muslims in the world. If one Muslim nation signed a treaty, then it's not incumbent upon all the Muslims. Say, for example, Malaysia becomes a Muslim country and they sign a peace treaty with Japan. It's only the Malaysians who are supposed to uphold that treaty. If you are in Nigeria and you are not a citizen of Malaysia, that treaty isn't binding upon you, according to Sharia law. Because when the Prophet ﷺ signed a treaty with Quraysh, the Prophet's state was called Medina and the Kafir state was called Mecca. Abu Basir tried to migrate and they turned him back. Abu Basir was in no man's land. He wasn't a citizen of Mecca, neither was he a citizen of Medina. So because Abu Basir was not a citizen of Medina, he doesn't have to respect the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. So what did he do? He robbed all the caravans of Quraysh. He and a group of men who were in the desert with him, like Abu Jandal. They needed food to eat. They can't starve in the desert, so where did they get the food from? They robbed the caravans of Quraysh. The Prophet turned a blind eye to what they were doing. Why? Because they were not a citizen of Medina. As long as you are not a citizen of Medina, you are allowed to rob the caravans of Quraysh. The caravans of Quraysh, that is fair game for you. That's why the Prophet turned a blind eye. I'm sure the wicked scholars will never teach you about Abu Basir. Because they are embarrassed about this part of the seerah. I'm sure the wicked scholars will never teach you about Abu Basir. I'm sure when you go for the 40 days of Tablighi Jama'ah, they will never teach you about Darul Harb and what Abu Basir used to do. They will tell you Abu Basir was creating fitna. But the Prophet knew Abu Basir was robbing the caravans of Quraysh, and the Prophet turned a blind eye. Why? Because Abu Basir was not a citizen of Medina. It was haram for Abu Bakr, Omar, Uthman, Ali, Talha, Zubair, Abdurrahman bin Auf to rob the caravans of Quraysh because they were citizens of Medina. They were obliged to abide by the treaty. Abu Basir was not a citizen of Medina. He was in no man's land. He was neither here nor there. So the caravans of Quraysh, they were fair game for him. That's why he robbed them. So the kuffar, they came to Medina and begged the Prophet to change the treaty. Anybody who wants to join you in Medina, take them in, because they are robbing our caravans. They are choking our lifeline. And the Prophet, because he was a mercy to mankind, he took Abu Basir in. So when they put in the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, anybody who leaves Darul Harb to live in Darul Islam, send them back. They thought they were oppressing the Muslims. What happened? It backfired in their faces big time. Why? Because you plot and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. That story of Abu Basir, we studied it in the Seal Nectar as well. You put in the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, anyone who leaves Darul Harb, Mecca, to come and live in Darul Islam, send them back. Anybody who leaves Darul Islam to live in Mecca, we can keep them. And you, the kuffar, you thought you were oppressing the Muslims. And you were taking the mick, you were having a laugh. You did not see what was coming, that Abu Basir was going to encamp between Mecca and Medina and rob all your caravans. You didn't see it coming. You had to go in your 3, verse 54. وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. You plot and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. Surah 3, verse 54. This is why the Treaty of Hudaybiyah backfired in your faces big time. I'm taking 5 questions. Where are the others? When a country is Darul Harb, their property is not sacred anymore. Their property isn't sacred when you live in Darul Harb. And when you borrow money from the bank, you don't have to pay it back. You only pay Darul Harb, you don't have to pay it back. Sheikh, just wondering, wasn't Anas ibn Malik the one who made the famous statement, by the Lord of the Kaaba, I have succeeded, when he was martyred? Was it this Sahaba who made the mistake of not answering the call of jihad? No, Anas was not the Sahaba who didn't answer the call for jihad. We studied the Seal Nectar in details. The 3 who didn't go for jihad, Anas was not one of them. 100% sure that Anas ibn Malik was not one of them. Ask the admins to help you to bring you the names of the 3 who didn't go for jihad based upon the extracts of the Seal Nectar. One of them was Ka'b ibn Malik. That's the ringleader. Ka'b ibn Malik. But Anas ibn Malik, Ka'b ibn Malik, listen to the 3 of them. Ka'b ibn Malik, Hilal ibn Umayyah, and Marara ibn Rabi'. Maybe I should write their names for you. The 3 who didn't go for jihad, they lagged behind. Anas is not one of them. Don't forget, we did the Seal Nectar in here. To come for the dust. Ka'b and Hilal bin Umayyah and Marara bin Rabi'. These are the 3 who didn't go for jihad. And they were excommunicated for 50 days. Because when the Amir calls for jihad, you have to go. It's like when you call your wife to bed. She has no choice in the matter. She has to go. If she doesn't go, all the angels in heaven curse that woman until she answers her husband's call. The same way a wife cannot refuse her husband's call. It's the same way when the Amir calls for jihad, you have to go for jihad. That's when jihad becomes fardu al-ain, when the Amir calls for jihad. So Ka'b ibn Malik, Hilal ibn Umayyah, and Marara ibn Rabi', they are the three who were excommunicated for 50 days. I'm 100% sure Anas ibn Malik is not one of them. Why are we sure? Because we did the seal nectar in this room in details. Next question, please. No more questions. I think no more questions because it's late for you in the UK, in Europe, and America. Not America, in Europe, and Africa as well. Okay, subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.